Broadcasting from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show. The show that discusses arcade repair, restoration, news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Tim and Jonathan.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 14 of the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show. Tim, we're doing it a little early this month because you have a conflict, correct?
I have a trip to make next week. I'll be in California again.
There you go.
So I'm going back out to Cali. Looking forward to that trip, but needed to do the live show a little week earlier.
There you go. So, guys, this is technically the April live show, even though we're doing it at the end of March, right?
Right.
And so we do want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Obviously, since, Tim, it's not on the first Thursday of the month like it usually is, I don't know if we're going to have quite the audience that we normally would. But hopefully you guys will join us, and even if you're watching this after the fact, Tim, we still appreciate you watching it, and we hope that at some point you tune in live. And we do want to thank everybody who is here with us live tonight, Tim. We do see YouTube Punk. He says, oh, yeah, there we go. So remember, guys, that you can ask us questions during the live show in the live chat room. We also have a nice little $ icon there, Tim, where you can donate to us while you're watching this as well.
Yes.
And, Tim, last time we got a donation, I believe.
We did.
Okay, and now it was like a $10 donation, right?
I
think it was from YouTube Punk. Now, here's the deal. We said in the after show that I was going to give you that $10 and you were going to invest it because we had talked about some investments. But here's the deal. You have to tune into the after show to find out what happened to the $10. Right. So there you go. There's a little teaser, Tim, before we get into the main show. So stay tuned for the after show for more information about that. We'll be talking some other topics there as well. But guys, let's get into the arcade stuff because that's really why you're here, right?
Sure.
Is about all the arcade stuff. So Tim, how's Chuck E. Cheese? Now, obviously, we've had a really big week happen since we last broadcasted. Right. What week was that?
That was spring break week. That is the busiest week of the year. A lot of people think it's in the summer. I guess we have a lot of more competition in the summer because spring break week was busy.
There you go. So now, Tim, obviously during that week, it's almost impossible to get games fixed. So really, what is your plan as far as spring break goes?
Well, that's exactly kind of the opposite. All we worry about is fixing games. Like making sure they're working and playing. We don't clean as much. We don't do as much preventive maintenance. That is the week you walk in the door and start fixing things until the crowd gets here.
Gotcha.
So, and then the rest of the time you're just kind of being a game room attendant, filling tickets and stuff like that. But we had a really good week. I had one game that was down most of the week because I had a part on back order. Everything else played all week and ran just fine. So, besides ticket issues or something like that, we had a good week.
That's good. Well, obviously, that is a busy week for Chuck E. Cheese and pretty much every family entertainment center out there.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, but we're glad to hear that everything was working for the most part. You got through it. You're alive and you're still here, right?
Yes.
And you're going to California.
Yeah, I'm going to Cali next week.
And there you go. So, guys, we're going to go ahead and get into the meat of it. Tim, we have a lot to cover on this episode. So, instead of kind of just conversating a little bit, we're going to get right into some of the questions that we received since the last episode, and we're going to cover those right now. And Tim, our first one is from Jeff, and let's go ahead and show Jeff's question here. Jeff says, hello, I've enjoyed your YouTube videos on cabinet repair and had a question that I was hoping you might offer some insight on. I have a Miss Pac-Man cabinet with a marquee light that doesn't work. I've replaced the bulb and the starter, but it still doesn't light up. I've tested all the connections, and there is power running into the fixture. Everything looks clean, and I can't see any corrosion or anything obvious that would keep it from lighting up. I asked a friend who knows a little bit about electrical repair, and he said it might be the ballast has gone bad. Is this something I should try to replace? Now, Tim, he continues here. The current light assembly is the original that came with the unit as far as I can tell. I've seen your tips on replacing the unit with an LED kit. That's something I'll consider, but if it's possible, I'd like to keep the original unit, if for nothing else than for nostalgia's sake. I also considered purchasing a new working original fluorescent light assembly if it's simpler than swapping out parts. Do you know of a place that sells the original kits? I'd love to get the light up and working again. Thank you for all of your help. So, Tim, we have Jeff here, and he's got an original Miss Pac-Man cabinet, kind of like the one right here behind me.
Yeah.
Okay, but in that Miss Pac-Man cabinet, he's got the original marquee ballast, okay?
Right.
Fluorescent light ballast. And so he's wondering, he's tried to replace the starter, he's tried to replace the bulb and some other things, and the wiring looks good. So he's wondering what could be wrong with his fixture. Why is it not working? Now, Tim, obviously, I totally, when I was doing the outline for this, I I was thinking starter, and I totally read over the part where he said starter.
Yeah.
So one of the things we always check is a starter. But Tim, I know a lot of times the holder for the starter will actually go bad, correct?
Yes, and the starter a lot of times will just disintegrate and fall to pieces on you. So that is always with any kind of fluorescent, older fluorescent bulb. That's a great place to start.
Right.
And the starter, as most people know, is the thing kind of looks like a capacitor or a battery that's
Right.
up there, and you got to push it in and turn it to get it to come out. I do like this question because to me, we always just ran down to Walmart or Lowe's, got a new light fixture, put it in there, and done. You never could tell the difference,
Right.
but he really wants to keep that nostalgic look,
Right.
and I'm okay with that. So if it's not the starter, there is a tiny little ballast or transformer that's in there. Now, as far as where do you get those parts, now you might can still find them at a local hardware store. I'm thinking maybe something like True Value or something that would not sell stuff so quickly,
Right.
that it still might have some stuff like that around. Probably the best place would be on eBay or Amazon.
Right.
You
So
can
basically,
still get them.
it's a little mini power transformer. In
Yeah,
there,
it looks like a little bitty transformer. It has a couple wires coming out of it, and you'll see it going to the prongs on the outside. That is what he's talking about, the ballast, and it can go bad. The problem is that even if you were to find that on eBay, time you pay shipping and get it to your house, you could already went to Lowe's and got another light.
Exactly.
So it's just really a matter of money and stuff to me. And we've also bought those $6 lights at Walmart that come complete. And just put them in there. I really can't tell the difference from the outside of the game. But those are a few suggestions. If he really wants to keep it authentic, probably he could check eBay or ask around. Maybe even somebody listening to this took out, I probably in my old shop, we probably had 10 of them laying around.
Right, exactly.
Because we had replaced them. So maybe some arcade collectors out there could hook him up or trade him for some parts or something like that.
Sounds good. Now, and Tim, like I said, for Jeff's question, I totally looked over the part where he said starter. So when I did the thing, I did starter. Now, Tim, it is important, though, for him to make sure he got the right starter, right?
Right.
So FS2s are very common, okay? And you can get those from Twisted Quarter. We have a link there, Tim. And you're going to find those in most of them, but there may be a case where you have an FS4, an FS5, or even an FS3. If you have an FS2, 4, or 5, you can get the universal starter, which works with all of them. And so, it could be, Tim, that somebody replaced his starter with one that maybe wasn't the same one as the one that was in it before, which is why it stopped working. So he may want to try a universal starter just to see if it works. We mentioned, Tim, that the holder for these starters sometimes will kind of we'll get to where it doesn't snap that in really well. So make sure that you check the holder, make sure you're getting a good snap on that. Tim, even the holder that holds the light bulb and makes the contact, makes the connection with the light bulb sometimes will go bad as well.
I've seen,
so that's
the wiring going to them will look like it's in there, but if you tug on it just a little bit, it'll come right out or it breaks.
Right, exactly. So you got to be careful with all those things. But like Tim mentioned, why not just go get a new light fixture? Because Tim, I don't know if you could really tell the difference between like the off-the-shelf one that you're going to get at Lowe's or Home Depot versus the one that was originally in it. They're both fluorescent lights, right?
Right. I don't think you can outside, but I know if he's really trying, he's going for that real authentic feel. But it really, I don't know that anybody would notice. And then to me, the LED lights make it look so much better, and brighter, and prettier, that I'd still recommend going that route.
Exactly. Now, I put a link there, Tim, to the fixture. You really want an 18-inch fixture. That's what most of these use, correct?
Yes.
And so you want an 18-inch replacement fixture if you're going to get one. So if you're running down to Lowe's or Home Depot or Walmart or somewhere like that to get a new fluorescent light fixture, you really want to make sure it's the 18-inch variety, right?
Right.
And so you can't replace it with that. Now, Michael asked, what LED fixture would you recommend? And we've used several, Tim. There's one, though, we have a video on that's replacing a marquee light with an LED. If you guys watch our video on that, we actually have one that we use. We link to the one that we use in the video. And Tim, it's a standard AC one, but we know that sometimes you may have DC voltage going up there as well. So make sure that you pick the appropriate light for the voltage that you have going up to your marquee.
What's really getting popular right now, especially at Chuck E. Cheese, is the fluorescent bulbs are coming in an LED tube that actually plugs and plays into your old bulb.
Fixture, right, exactly.
But be careful, because some of them do, some of them are plug and play, and some of them you have to run both wires to the one side.
Gotcha.
But so just make sure that you're getting a plug and play. That now most of them that they're making, about 3 or 4 years ago, the ones that you got, you had to rewire. Now most of them I'm buying are just simple plug and play. You just replace the bulb with an LED strip.
Exactly. Instead of a fluorescent bulb, it's an LED bulb, basically.
Yeah, and it doesn't need a ballast.
Right.
Or a starter.
Oh, wow.
So you bypass them two things. Even he could use his current
right.
Holder and put a new bulb in it. But, you know, it's kind of those things. It depends on what he really wants to do.
Gotcha. So hopefully answers your question, Jeff. It sounds like you've done most of your due diligence as far as getting it working goes. But let's check the holder that starter goes in. Let's check your wiring. And like Tim mentioned, let's check the transformer to make sure that all of those are working properly. Now, Tim, he can also go the LED route, or he could go with a new fluorescent light fixture as well, correct?
Yes.
And that'd be another way to go. Or the LED route. And Tim, we go over that in installing an LED light in a marquee. We actually have a video on that, and we hope that you check that out, because it does have the one that we recommend. And Tim, I think we installed that in Donkey Kong. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That LED bulb. So
now, I would like to say, if he's talking about, was it a Pac-Man or a Miss Pac-Man?
It was a Miss Pac-Man.
You know, I have seen 100 or so original Miss Pac-Man that just had a light socket in there.
Correct.
And so obviously I've seen so many of them that I think a lot of them came like that, or that might have been how most of them came. If you want to be original, they had 2 light sockets and light bulbs just screwed into them.
Right.
And that would be another option that he could do. But I've always, if we were going at auction, you put 10 Miss Packs, I could tell that one. And
exactly.
I didn't like them the way they looked when we just put fluorescent out. I'd always take them out and put a fluorescent bulb in there, because it would light up the whole marquee.
Exactly.
And not just areas.
Exactly.
But, you know, if he wants to be original, a lot of them had those in them.
Sounds good. So, Tim, is there anything else you want to add to Jeff's question before we
No,
move on?
I think we got Jeff going pretty good. He'll have to let us know what he did.
Sounds good. So, Jeff, hopefully answers your question, and good luck getting that original ballast working, or replacing it with an LED or another fluorescent ballast. Now, Tim, YouTube Punk says those fluorescent lights will burn up the back of the marquee, correct?
They do. They present. That's another problem with fluorescent lights. Think of a pinball glass and what those little lights do to it. A lot of marquees, especially that are screen printed on glass, or they'll fade, or it'll be kind of discolored and stuff. Another reason why I do recommend the LED light now.
Sounds good. So hopefully answers your question, Jeff, and good luck with your Miss Pac-Man marquee light. Okay, Tim, we're going to move on. I don't see any questions. We've got a couple of comments from YouTube Punk and Michael. We want to thank you guys for joining us. And, of course, like we mentioned, guys, if you're here and you're watching us tonight, feel free to say something in the live chat if you have questions, or if you just want to make comments, Tim, always.
Sure.
All questions and comments are welcome, and we appreciate you guys being here tonight to join us for the live show. Okay, Tim, with that said, let us move on to Steve. And Steve says, I have a Multicade 16-1 arcade cabinet. The volume was too loud, so I found an online tutorial about rebooting it in test mode, and then hitting the test button to step through the settings screens to the volume control, changing the volume and saving the settings. That worked, but now it seems to be stuck in some sort of demo mode that cycles through each game, demoing controls and scoring. Any advice? Okay, Tim, so we have Steve here, and what Steve did is he has a 16-1 board,
right.
Okay, and the volume was too loud, so he went into test mode. He scrolled through all 60 screens plus the 2 screens that you do for like I/O controls and
right.
others to get to the volume control. Turned it down, saved the settings, but now it seems like he can't actually start a game. It's just going into basically a demo mode for all of that.
Okay.
So what do you think's going on with Steve's 16-1 board here? What do you think's happening?
Well, it could be a problem of if he changed any of the settings, maybe he got it out of free play mode, and he's going to need to either coin it up to make it start, or go back and change it into free play mode, because if it's not in free play mode, it'll just sit there and do demo mode.
Sure.
That'd be one guess. Also, you got to make sure that he's pressing the 1 and the 2 player start buttons to start a game, that he actually is doing the steps right and everything. If you press the fire button, it'll just show you the demo mode. So
right.
You have to kind of hit the 1 or 2 player start button to get it out of the demo mode, and then he'll have to coin it up and stuff. So, or whatever he needs to do. But that would be my guess, is that he changed some other setting like that too. So
right.
I'm thinking there may be a dip switch also that you can change. but I don't think he got into that like a hard dip. So he probably just got it into off of free play. It should say free play at the bottom too if it's on free play.
Gotcha. And Tim, that's basically what I put in our slide here, and I'll go ahead and show it for the audience here. It's normal for the 16-1 board to cycle through all the games when it's in a track mode. Now there could be a problem if it's not letting you start the game. If this is the case, make sure you didn't accidentally turn off the free play mode like you mentioned, Tim, setting when you were in the test service menu. Now Tim, of course, the same thing goes for coining it up like you mentioned as well.
Yes.
If you're not coining it up and hitting the start button, then you could have a problem. Also, make sure that you're pressing either the 1 or 2 player start buttons to start a game. Pressing the 1 player fire action button will just show you the selected game's demo mode. And Tim, we have to go through this a lot of times when we sell a game that has a 16-1 board.
Oh yeah, I always show them that. One of the first things I show them, I'm like,
yeah, you have to press the 1 player start. You can't press the 1 player fire and action button in order to get it to start the game. That'll just show you the demo mode for the selected game.
Right.
And so that's something to keep in mind. But yes, make sure you're pressing the 1 or 2 player start button to start the game. Make sure the game is coined up if it needs to be coined up, and make sure you have it on free play if it was on free play before. And Tim, if you go through there and you don't know what you're doing and you accidentally hit a joystick just the right way, you will mess with some of the settings.
Yes.
So it's very important to pay attention to what you're doing when you're in the test mode of any game, 16-1 or pretty much any game that you're going to get in the test mode for. So Tim, anything else you want to add to Steve's question here?
No, unless he did everything right and somehow his board just locked up on him. In that case, there's not a lot we can do. But check those things first before you try to replace your main board.
Sounds good. And guys, remember, 16-1 boards are cheap.
Yeah.
And so you can get a replacement pretty easily. So even if this board isn't working properly, you can order another one. Tim, they usually run around the $50 range, I believe.
Right.
And you can get them from some of the parts distributors that we have on our resources page at arcaderepairtips.com/resources. So if you're looking for a replacement board, Steve, you may want to check there. Some of the retailers that we have on there, you can get that 16-1 replacement board from. So Steve, hopefully answers your question. Good luck getting your 16-1 back playing properly. Okay, Tim, we're going to move to actually some of the live chat here. Let's see. Danny Bloom says, I think you should say Tim's name more. We need more Tim. You guys are awesome. Tim. Did I say it enough? Enough? Tim. I'll say it a couple more times. Captain Retro, as a professional sound tech and boom op, the boom is in your shot. I had to say it. Yes, we know that. And it sounds better this way. We tried it when we set it up. When we lifted it up, and it doesn't sound as good. Sorry. So it's just enough for to satisfy. Exactly. Exactly. It's like, hey, there is a mic here.
We're in the studio, though.
Exactly. We are in the studio.
The world headquarters.
World headquarters. There you go. JDG says, what is the number one thing wrong with broken arcade machines, power supply, the actual board? You should make a video on reading schematics. I don't know if you know how to, but I'm trying to learn, and there's no good vids that on that and using an oscilloscope. Also, what is the most important tools is multimeter better than no scope. Okay, that's a lot of stuff there. Okay, let's take them one at a time. What is the number one thing with broken arcade machines? What's the number one problem we say? Steve, more than anything.
Always start at power.
Yeah, power supply issues, right?
Yeah, power supply.
Second most thing, monitor issues.
Probably monitors.
Yeah, by far. Board issues are kind of rare. I mean, and so that's why we don't go over like schematics and
usually something else caused the board to go bad.
Exactly. Boards do go bad. Yeah. And chips do go bad on boards, okay? And schematic reading is pretty easy. The problem is that when you get into more recent arcade games, with surface-mounted chips and other things, repairing those boards becomes a challenge.
Right.
Because you really have to have good equipment in order to desolder, especially some of those surface-mounted chips. Okay, yeah. So even if you've got a schematic for it, which sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, actually trying to repair the board is where the actual trouble is, right?
Yeah, where I use schematics more than anything is or more like tracing down wires.
Right.
I mean, once you get into it's... you can trace and say, okay, it's probably this chip and stuff. Like I said, you said the newer boards, I might as well just get another board.
Right.
But
if you can. Nowadays, though, there are people who will repair it.
Yeah.
It's just all about having the right equipment.
I wouldn't say that we wouldn't do a tutorial sometime on reading schematics, but most of it can be found pretty easily on the net. Like, as long as you know what the symbols are. Some good things to know, just offhand, would be like a fuse.
Right.
Where a fuse is in line. Maybe where the capacitors or diodes or something like that, which direction and things like that. But most of it is you can kind of teach yourself online.
And let's see here. Let's see, reading schematics. We could do a video on that. I think it would be helpful. Also, what's the most important tools? And if you've seen our video on your first arcade toolbox, those are the most important tools.
When we first started buying games, one of the first things we wanted to get was an oscilloscope.
Right.
And we got one, and set on a shelf for years.
That's right.
I use a multimeter every day.
Right.
Chuck E. Cheese used to have a oscilloscope in each store.
Right.
I bet you can't find one now that does.
Right.
Most of them collected dust there too.
Right. And it's because those board level repairs are more difficult. Like Pac-Man boards, Centipede boards, older boards, easy to work on. Okay, and schematics are easy to read on them. But the newer stuff, there's no way.
Right.
There's no way every Chuck E. Cheese could have all the equipment to work on.
Fortunately, Stan's grandpa found out. He talked about working with an oscilloscope one time. We're like, you know how to use one? He's like, yeah. And we sat down for a few hours, and he showed us how to use one. I could see a couple of instances out of a couple of thousand that it actually could have come into play.
Right. Now, if you're a board repair guy,
yes, then
that's
you
something
need one.
you definitely need.
But you can also buy a really nice fluke or something that has a oscilloscope built in it,
right,
for a few $100. I think they're around $500, $300 to $500. So that may be something you want to invest in instead of both.
Right.
That would be one route to go. You just really don't use them very often. You use the meter. I use it daily. Yeah,
exactly.
Working on games, the multimeter and learning how to use even just the continuity check on it saves me a lot of time and trouble.
There you go. Michael says, I have a scope. I've never used it on an arcade machine. I have a Fluke digital multimeter. Gets a workout, though. And he's exactly right. That's usually how it comes. Number one issue, just a fuse. Nah, I don't think so, YouTube punk. Let's see. Schematics are super important for pinball machines. And that is correct. And like Tim mentioned, wiring. Because pinball machines have, a mile of wiring in them? I always
half
forget.
a mile.
Half a mile of wiring in them. Schematics, super important for pinball machines. You need to be able to read those, okay? For arcade games, not so much. And that's exactly right. What Michael Bloom says is correct there. Captain Retro says, how often do you work on vector games and monitors? I have a Star Trek SOS that is giving me some issues. I can link to the video if you guys want to see what it's doing. We don't work on vectors much anymore.
No,
because we just don't have any.
When Stan lived here and he had about 5 or 6, we worked on them, fixed them, and that was about it. So not very often anymore, especially I just don't really come across them, or either they work or they don't. So we haven't worked on a vector game in probably a couple years.
Yeah, and just because we don't have any. I mean, and that's what it really comes down to.
In our collection, if we, but
and it's not like there's a lot of them out there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we just don't get the amount of time. Now, Tim, with that said, we do have a friend that specializes in vector repairs. I don't know if he's taking any at the moment, but if you're looking for somebody, Captain Retro, to help you out with some vector repairs, we do know people that can help you. So, okay, did we get everything? I think we did. Okay, I'm good right now. Okay, we'll move on.
Next question.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next prepared question, the next email question that we got. And Tim, this one actually came from one of our YouTube comments. And it's a question from Bill, and he says, how do I take an arcade game off of free play mode? Okay, which is very just a simple question. Now, Tim, why would somebody want to do this? Maybe you're moving it from a home environment to a store or something like that where you actually want to take coins. So, Tim, for Bill, how do we take a game that's on free play mode now and turn it back to coin play?
Well, it all depends on the game. And if you have the game manual, that will help you a lot. But most of the older games are either a hard dip switch, which is a physical dip that you turn the game off and move, and we have a video on that. Or you go into the settings and you change it in the settings, like in the case of our 60-in-1 board, you go into the soft dip switch settings and change it there.
There you go. And so basically it's either a hardware dip or a software dip, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And that's what we put here, Tim. So most boards use either a dip switch or a test mode setting to indicate whether the board is on free play or coin play mode. Please consult the manual for your game to see which method. If your game uses a hardware dip switch, you will need to flip the switch on the board in order to set it for coin play. Please see our post on adjusting dip switch settings on a board for more information. We have a great post on that, Tim, if you want to see it. If your game uses test mode, you will need to enter the menu by using the test button and changing the appropriate setting. And Tim, I put a little bank of test switches here, just so people can see kind of what those look like. It's different in every game, okay? You're not going to get the same thing in every game, but I mean, a lot of games have this kind of 2 or 3 switches on the inside, sometimes just one.
Williams games especially.
Exactly, that will actually allow you to get into the test mode. Once you're in test mode, you can set the free play. So the best advice we can give you here, Bill, is make sure that you check your manual. Okay, your manual usually has all that information in it, and so it'll tell you how to get into free play. So, but it's usually either a hardware dip or a test mode setting that you'll need to check.
If you're not sure, Google dip switch settings And that will help you. Name of game, and that will help you.
There you go. And YouTube Punk says, check your dips. And that's exactly right. So pretty simple there. Nothing complicated. But in Tim, you can rig up free play buttons, which we've shown in a video as well. Installing a free play button, if you guys have seen that one. So you can, if you want to do the opposite, you want to go to coin mode to free play mode, you can do that. Or, of course, if you want to take that back to coin play, just take the Switch out, right? Sure. And we've done that on a couple, actually, I think, where we bought games that were home use only, and then we wanted to install them in arcades. So it happens. Everybody, it's just different things. So, but Bill, hopefully answers your question, and good luck with any games you're trying to convert from free play to coin play. So there you go. Okay, Tim, the next one is from Fern, and I believe this one is also from a YouTube comment. And he says, I have 2 questions. Here, I should put it up here, I guess. I have 2 questions. 1, would putting a fan in the back of the cabinet be the same as putting it under it? And then 2, should the fan be blowing inside the cabinet or blowing hot air out? Okay, so we got 2 questions here from Fern. So he's saying, is putting a fan on the back of a cabinet the same as putting it under a cabinet? Okay, well, let's take that one first.
Not quite the same. I mean, it's close, but it depends on the cabinet. Like a cocktail cabinet, you'd really want it under it.
Right, because you don't really want an exposed fan. I mean, you don't have a lot of cabinet space on the outside. Plus, it looks kind of ugly. So you're exactly right. Go ahead.
But in the case of a stand-up game, I don't think it would make much difference at all.
Okay. I mean, it really just depends. And I think it really depends on where you're putting it. You know, like where you're putting it in the game. If it's on the back, are you putting it low? Or are you putting it high in the cabinet? You know, that would really depend on whether or not it was the same as putting it on the back. Now, his second question there, Tim, is really important. It's like, should the fan be blowing in or should it be blowing out? Okay. And so I think, to me, it really depends on how many fans you're going to install.
Yes.
Okay. If you're going to install one fan, you probably want it blowing out.
Yes.
Okay, to vent out all the hot air that's going to be built up. Okay, but what we prefer to do is install 2 fans, one that blows in from the bottom and out the top.
Right.
Okay, because that way you get kind of a consistent airflow. Because remember, everybody kind of, I guess we remembered this from like our physical science classes in high school or whatever it is, where cold air comes in the bottom, warm air vents out the top. Right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're going to have a 2-fan system, you really want air coming in from the bottom. Okay, coming in from the bottom and then blowing out from the top. Yeah. And so,
if you did it opposite, I mean, you'd still be better off than no fan.
Exactly. But the idea is to remove.
Be an idea, but
exactly. The idea is to remove all the hot air from the cabinet.
Exactly.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get all of it out. And so what we did here is we kind of answered them here in the thing. On the first question, installing a fan in the back of your cabinet is not quite the same as installing one on the bottom. It depends on where the fan is placed on the back of your cabinet. If the fan is placed near the bottom on the back, then it would be kind of the same, right? Because it's kind of doing the same. It's kind of serving the same purpose down there. On your second question, it really depends on how many fans you want to use. If you're only going to use one, it's probably better to have it near the middle top, blowing out to exhaust the hot air. If you're going to use 2, like we said, blowing 1 in from the bottom, out the top is usually the way that we like to do it. Okay, so I mean that I like to do that because, like I said, it's about circulating the air. Tim. We're trying to get all the hot air out of the cabinet. But like when you see a Miss Pac-Man cocktail, Tim, it usually has 1 fan, and that 1 fan usually just vents. Okay, It's blowing all that hot air out of the cabinet, okay? And it's because in a cocktail, you have a very tight space. Hot air builds up quickly, and so this is a way for it to vent all that out. And in fact, if you look at the Holland Computers cocktail kit that we like to recommend, Tim, you'll notice the vents at the bottom.
Yes.
Okay, and it's because all those vents are trying to vent all that hot air out of the cabinet, okay? Because really, you don't want it venting out the top of a cocktail because that's going to be right where the player is, okay?
Right.
And so you're trying to prevent that. And so putting the vents on the bottom hopefully helps it vent out a little bit better down there.
And this would be a good time to recommend highly that if your fans are not working in your game, that you replace them and make sure that you are. I can think of, remember a game like Pole Position?
Yes.
That just gave us fits, and then we put some fans in it, and it just solved a multitude of issues with that game. Wizard of War was the same way. We've had many other games that we've actually installed fans in that didn't have them originally. So that may be something you want to look at adding. Just make sure your voltage on your fan, some of them are AC powered, some are DC powered. So however it's powered is how you need to hook it up.
Exactly. Make sure that we hook up the correct voltage to the fan. That's going to be the key. But Tim, like we said, if you're going to install 2, you really want 1 in, 1 out. And if you're bottom in, top out, or if you're going to install one, you really want to vent out to get the hot air out of your cabinet.
Right.
I think
a lot of newer games at Chuck E. Cheese will have 2 on the bottom and 2 on the top.
There you go.
Just to show you how much circulation that.
And
really
when you're
is
dealing,
needed in
especially
there.
when you're dealing with computers, I mean,
Right.
that's the thing. A lot of newer games use computers. We really want to get all that heat away from the computer so it doesn't cause.
That's
more
why
issues.
I don't have a problem with if your computer is in a case to remove the side of the case, because you've already got it inside a cabinet, a case inside a cabinet, and that way it can even get more air and circulation up in there, and it makes it easier to clean too without having to take the case apart.
There you go. So, Fern, hopefully I answered your question. Like we said, placing a fan in the back, not quite the same as placing one in the bottom or vice versa. But if you are going to install a fan, one fan, just do exhaust. 2 fans, really get the airflow going. In from the bottom, out from the top. And Tim, I think a lot of our people here in the live chat also agree with us. Michael Bloom says, most efficient, blow in from the bottom, out the top. Let the fact that heat rises work for you. And same thing from YouTube Punk, intake from the bottom, exhaust out the top. So there you go. So we got some. Now JDG, we're gonna go move along here. Tim, he says, say I bought a Sega Naomi or something to play Initial D. Can you hook up any steering wheel and pedal to the shifter? Is there a way to hook it all up? I don't know if that makes sense to you. So here's the deal about Naomi, Tim, is that Naomi uses input boards, I/O boards.
Right.
Okay, so it depends on the I/O board as to what you can hook up to it. A lot of times a steering wheel, though, Tim, is just a potentiometer.
Right.
Okay, so for the most part, if the steering wheel is correct, pretty much any potentiometer-based steering wheel should work.
Yes.
Now, with that said, there are different types of steering wheels. There is the left-right steering wheel, and there's a 360 wheel.
Yes.
So make sure that, I think Initial D probably uses the just left-right, like what we see in a lot of more modern driving games. And so you need to make sure that you're getting a left-right steering wheel. Hooking any steering wheel up to it, I wouldn't say that. You definitely want to get a arcade steering wheel for it. But you could probably use one off of a Cruis'n USA or any of the newer style driving games would work.
Right. And
to hook up to that board.
Some are 5K potentiometers, some are 1K, some,
Right.
and so
It
that
may
will make a
depend as well.
difference. You can remember one time we tried to hook an Xbox up inside of a game, and we couldn't hardly get the steering down at
Right.
all because it was the potentiometer was too sensitive, and it would
Exactly.
just, would drive like crazy. It was really
So you really want to
back in
use
the
the
day.
potentiometer-based steering wheel that is recommended for the game. And I mean, you should be able to get replacement parts from who does Sega games now? Plate Amusements.
yes.
So Plate Amusements would probably have some parts for you if you wanted to get a steering wheel for it. But yeah, it's all about interfacing with the I/O board that comes with Naomi. So like a Naomi, you have the main system, but that main system usually hooks up to an I/O board that works for different games. So like one of the most famous I/O boards, Tim, is the CPS2 one for Naomi, which basically lets you use Naomi systems and CPS2 cabinets. So
Okay.
that way you could easily do it. And that input-output board's expensive, if I remember correctly. I don't know how much they go for now, but I want to say it's pretty pricey, upwards of $300 maybe. But that board alone, and basically what it is it hooks up to the Naomi, and then it's a JAMA connector with the little kick harness as well. So there's just literally plug and play with CPS2 systems, which is really neat. But it depends on the I/O board that's interfacing with the Naomi as to what controls you can use with it. So that's one of the cool things about Naomi, though, is you can use it in a variety of cabinets. It's all about the I/O board.
Just a tip, if you're running MAME or something, you may actually need to go into Windows and calibrate.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
If
you're having steering problems.
Yeah, if you're having
with MAME.
steering problems in MAME, go into Windows and calibrate.
And that even goes,
not just in your
for
game.
for driving games too. You may always need to calibrate your steering. So
Yes.
I mean, just because you have the right potentiometer doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get the whole range of motion unless you calibrate. So
Agreed.
there we go. So JDG, hopefully I answered your question. I don't know if you could do any steering wheel, but most of the arcade steering wheels should be okay with it. But we
Yeah.
always recommend going with original manufacturer equipment, and so you definitely want to. Make sure that you go to Plate Amusements would probably be the best place to go in order to get a replacement steering wheel.
Hap has them.
Oh, Hap has them too?
Hap
And
carries
Initial
Sega
D is
stuff.
still used in a lot of arcades. It's still a very popular game, so getting a hold of parts is probably not the issue. They will be pricey.
Yes.
Maybe that's a good way to say it. So, JDG says, I want a cocktail cabinet so bad. Way too expensive, though. They're not that expensive. I guess not too expensive. The kit that we show how to put together, right?
Right.
The Holland Computers kit. You can get that on sale for, what, $700?
Yes.
And I know that's pricey, but you're talking about a brand
new
new
game.
cocktail. So it's not terrible at all. So, but yeah, I mean, they're not bad, but of course cabinets are pricey as a whole, Tim. It doesn't matter
Yes.
what you order.
And you don't find cocktails as often.
No, you do
anymore.
not. No, as far as like original cocktails.
But lots of kits or what do I want to call them, like schematics and stuff that tell you how to build your own.
Right, exactly.
You could
do that. Exactly. That's always an option for you. So, okay, well, Tim, let's go ahead and move on to Eric here. And Eric says, "Hello, I recently purchased a stand-up Defender game and everything was working well. Currently, the spaceship goes to the top of the screen and I am unable to get the ship to go down. I have taken the top part off and using a voltmeter, checked all of the ground and power connects back to the main clip on the board. I have also used the joystick up and down to make sure that the leaf switch is working correctly too. Do you have any other suggestions on what could be causing this symptom? Thank you for your time." Now, Tim, basically Eric has a Defender where
it just
the
constantly
up
goes
is stuck.
up.
Right, exactly. He has a stuck up, okay?
Right.
So, Tim, in Williams games, though, there's actually a way to reset all the switches, correct?
Yes.
So, you want to tell us about how to do that?
Yeah, you can go into in the manual, it talks about it. You can go in and check all the switches and make sure that it's going. Just because he said he had a meter, you need to test the switches with your meters real easy for one of those switches to get stuck, or they do go bad.
Right.
They look fine, but internally they're bad, and that will cause it to get stuck. So he needs to go into the switch test and see if it's sticking up and if he can stop that. Also, he could have like I said, he could have one of the prongs hooked up to, instead of the normally open, it could be on the normally closed.
Right.
And that would do it. So make sure there should be a couple places to plug that in. I bet you anything, if you unplug that switch, your problem you wouldn't go up at all.
Well,
it would quit going up.
Now, here's the thing, though, Tim. We know with Williams games, there's a dedicated I/O board.
Yes.
Okay, and sometimes that I/O board will give you trouble. So
Right.
make sure that the I/O board is working properly. And, Tim, I actually have a test for that we're going to talk about real quick. Now, what Tim said about the switch test is correct. If you go into the switch test, okay, and you move the toggle switch to manual down, it should clear any stuck switches, okay?
Yes.
If you do that and it's still stuck, then we probably have another problem. Now, Tim, I'm going to say that his joystick and his switch is working because he says he tested it with the voltmeter. I'm going to assume that that's working. So that means that we probably have a problem either with that I/O board,
right,
or the main processing board. Okay, we probably have a problem with either one. So how do we know which one? Let's try removing the ribbon cable from the I/O board.
Right.
Okay, and then go into the switch test again, and if that up is still up, okay, it's probably not the I/O board at that point because we have it unplugged, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if the up is still up at that point, it's probably the MPU board. Now, if it stops with the up, then we know that the problem is in the I/O board. Okay, and the I/O board is you can get replacements for that. You can check for cold solder joints. It's not terribly complicated, thankfully. So there's a lot of good schematics on it if you need to repair it. Okay, but if it's the MPU, there's a chip. The chips located at 4K and 6K really control a lot of that input, and so you may have to replace those chips in order to get your
could definitely be a stuck chip.
Exactly, and so this could be the case. So make sure if you've got an MPU problem that we're looking at 4K and 6K, you may need to replace those chips. Otherwise, like we mentioned, check your I/O board and all the connections, because sometimes, of course, Tim, like you're one off on the ribbon cable, or there's other issues. But Tim, the reason I say go with the MPU board is because it seems like this up stuck issue has a lot to do with that chip. Like when we see this kind of issue, we have a problem more of the time it's with the MPU board than it is with the I/O board.
Right.
And so that's the only reason why we're going all the way back to the MPU is because the problem is probably there. Now, Tim, of course, our friend King Graham could tell you this in a second, okay?
Right.
Okay, because he worked at Williams. He knows these board sets like the back of his hand. But from what I've learned from him, I'm passing along to you. He may be able to tell you a little bit better than what I'm telling you. But like I said, let's go into the switch test. Let's try to clear any stuck switches using the manual down switch when you're in there. If it still happens, unplug the I/O board, see if we're still getting it. And if we're still getting it, probably have a problem with the MPU at that point.
And our guess at this point would probably be the MPU board chip.
Well, exactly. If we're going all the way back, okay?
Yeah.
Now, the I/O board could still be the culprit. They go bad a lot, Tim. It
Yes.
seems like we've seen them go bad in a lot of different games. And so the nice thing, though, is that repairing them is easy. The parts are easy to find, and you can check for cold solder joints. You may be able to find something there. And so, repairing the I/O board is not that complicated, and they're swappable between Williams games a lot of times.
Yes.
You may have to make a couple of changes, but you can get it working if you need to. So hopefully that helps. Thank you for your question, Eric, and hopefully we didn't get too technical there. I don't like to get too buried, but I feel like in this particular case, the MPU board's probably going to be the issue.
Right.
So hopefully answers your question, and good luck with getting your Defender back playing 100%. And Tim, you too, Punk. Happy early birthday, Jonathan. Thanks for doing live shows. Well, thank you.
Wow.
I got some money. I like that. My birthday is actually the 4th of April, which would have been Wednesday.
Would have been Wednesday.
Well, it'll be Wednesday. So it would have been one day past my birthday if we would have done it scheduled like we were supposed to. So, but that's okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. So we'll put it to good use. I don't know what we'll buy, but maybe I'll give it to Tim to invest again. We'll talk about that.
We'll have to see how the last one went.
That's right. Exactly. We'll have to see if we made any money on the last investment. So there you go. Okay, now Tim, this question that's coming up is from Karen, and Karen doesn't have a repair question, but she has a kind of what's the word, like pricing question.
Yes.
Is that a way to say it? Okay, here we go. Karen says, "Hello. Do you buy arcade games?"
Yes.
Well, we do. We'll get into that. "I have a full-size game that is playing blind that I'd like to sell and thought it wouldn't hurt to ask. I see them, Tim, on eBay for $1,500 to almost $3,000 in working order."
Right.
Okay.
For sale.
For sale,
Not
that's right.
selling. You see them for sale.
That's right. Just wondering what you think a fair price would be. Thank you so much. Okay, now, Tim, so we have a Tempest. Okay, we were talking about vectors earlier. Okay, now here's the deal about Tempest, though. It's a color vector. And there's not a whole lot of color vector games, right? Let's see. I can think of Tempest, Black Widow.
Yes.
What else?
Oh gosh, don't put me on the spot.
There you go. There are
Maybe
other
the chat room will
That's
help
right.
us
If
out
there are
here.
other color vector games, I know we're forgetting some. Let us know. But Tim, color vectors seem like they're even tougher to come across than like the black and white vectors sometimes.
They're getting there.
And so, Star Wars.
Yes.
How can we forget Star Wars? But there's a lot of color vector games. But like I said, getting
Like
one
Quantum.
Quantum. There you go. Getting one in working condition with a working monitor, that's the tough part. Now,
Yes.
Tim, she did mention, I don't know if you caught that it was, let's see, playing blind.
Right.
Okay, so we have a Tempest that's playing blind.
Right.
Okay, so I asked the Arcade Repair Tips staff. Okay, I asked you. I asked Eric, who's of course the host of the Question and Answer podcast. I asked Mark. I asked Louie, and we kind of came up with our pricing. But if people are in the chat, let us know. What do you guys think a playing blind Tempest is worth?
Yes.
We'll give them just a second here. Well, you need to take a drink or something.
No,
There we go.
good.
I'll take a drink. So what is a playing blind Tempest worth? We'll see.
Right.
We'll see how many people chime in here.
Because the ones that she's quoting on eBay are obviously working,
$1,500
probably
to $3,000.
restored games.
Yeah, $1,500 to $3,000.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. So now playing blind though, Tim, that does devalue it quite a bit because like we talked about, we're not making vector monitors anymore.
Yeah, and guys, just a tip on when you're buying or when, like say, she was selling us this game, that is a non-working game.
Right, exactly. That is a non-working game.
Now, I don't care if it is just a fuse or whatever we think it might be. There could be other problems. So once we got the monitor working, we might see it had all kinds of graphics issues.
Right, but now the biggest
So
hurdle
bid accordingly.
Right, now the biggest hurdle though here, Tim, is that the monitor. Okay,
Right.
we can get boards repaired a lot of times.
Sure.
Okay, but the monitor, if it's not working, then that's a different issue. Okay, Tim, we got 500. We've got 300.
Okay.
Okay. I think we'll stop there and we'll continue on. So, Tim, I took the consensus of all of the people here on the Arcade Repair Tip staff. First things first, though, let's answer her question. Yes, we do buy arcade games, but only if they are located in our general area of the country, which is Texas, Tim, as you know. With that said, a Tempest with a non-working monitor devalues the game quite a bit. As you may know, vector monitors are no longer being manufactured. If you can't get the monitor that's currently in the cabinet working, your Tempest basically becomes a huge doorstop. And Tim, I have to thank Louie for that line. I thought it was very creative. I think he's exactly right. If it doesn't work, basically your Tempest is a huge doorstop. Taking that into consideration, we would still put the value of a playing blind Tempest around $400 to $800 depending on the condition and the contents of the cabinet.
Right.
A fully working Tempest will usually go around $1,000 to $1,500.
Right.
And nobody really had a problem with the $1,000 to $1,500. Like everybody on the staff pretty much agreed on that. I know you see some on eBay for $3,000, Tim, but those are kind of on the high side, right?
Yeah, like I said, you see them asking that much, but you don't see them selling for that much.
Exactly.
Occasionally, you probably get one that does, but not very often. I think that's a fair price.
So $400 to $800, where that came from, Eric and Tim were actually on the low side of that number. I believe you guys said like you and Eric were like around $300 to $500.
Yes.
Both of you. And Louie and Mark were actually on the high side of that number. They were saying it would still sell for about $7 or $8.
Okay.
And so I kind of brought your number up a little bit, and mine was around. I said about $400 or $500. So I took my low. I took kind of the higher range of where we were, and said about 4 to 8, maybe 4 to 7 would be a better range. I don't know, but I mean, just between us, it probably depends on really what's in the cabinet. I mean, and I think I put that here, Tim, on the slide. I said, taking that into consideration, we'd still put the value of playing blind Tempest around $400 to $800, depending on condition and contents of the cabinet. Does it have all the stuff in it?
Yeah, how clean is it? How much, Is it other than just the monitor not working?
Right.
Does it got cigarette burns all in it?
I think $800 would be a fine price if it was complete. And it looks
like home use only.
Home use only,
Yeah,
exactly.
kinda, yeah.
I think we would be okay with. I'd be okay with paying $800 if it was home use only and was complete and had everything in it.
Sure.
Okay. But for a more beat up cabinet though, that was still solid, had everything in it, probably $500 or $400 would probably be a better price. And so, let's see. How much does a Tempest board and cabinet go for? I mean, and like we said, really about that $1,000 to $1,500 range if you're looking for the board and the cabinet. I mean, that's kind of the question though. I don't think anywhere near 500, more like 2, because finding a monitor would be a nightmare. You're buying a cabinet, and that's really what we were talking about here, Tim. But here's the thing, okay?
As long as it's complete, you could fix the one that's in there.
Exactly, and you could
That's
always.
why I would put it up in that $300 range.
Right,
but-
exactly. Here's the thing too, though. I mean, you could be buying a nightmare, but at the same time, you can always convert it to something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I hate to be like that, but man, if you can't find the monitor, I mean, you might as well put it to use in some other fashion. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully you can find one. You never know. But Mike also said 400, 401. And Tim, I think just as a general, if I was going to look at it and it was in okay condition, $400, $500 would probably be right around the price I'd want to pay for it.
Sure.
So I think that answers your question pretty well, though. What do you think?
So, and it's a good question because people think a lot of, when
non-collectors, non-people in the hobby,
they
things like
think that this is a gold mine, and they do have a lot of value. Not the kind of value I think she was thinking of, especially for a non-working one. So, guys, when you're always buying a game, take that in consideration. My famous story, John, we'll tell briefly, is the Arctic Thunder.
Right.
That wasn't coming on, and I thought, well, it's got to be a power supply. It's got to be something. I think I might have paid $400 or $500 for it. Got it home from the auction. It had no chassis, no computer. It was an empty shell back there.
That's right.
And so, I had we used the cart all around the shop, and I know the guys run it down a hill a few times and made a go-kart out of it or something. But we never got the game working because we didn't have all the parts, and I really wasted a lot of money on that.
And, hey, it could happen to anybody, Tim. Just make sure you know what you're bidding or buying before you do it. Always open up the back of a cabinet if you can. Make sure that you know what's in there.
And on auction, you don't always get that choice, so bid accordingly. But if you ever go to a person's house to look at a game, make sure and open it up and check out the inside. No telling what you're going to find in there, what kind of condition the wiring and everything's going to be in.
Exactly. Or what parts may or may not be there.
Correct.
So there you go. So Karen, hopefully answers your question. We're looking around the $400 to $800 range, depending on the condition of your cabinet. And of course, the $3,000, the inflated eBay price, Tim, right? So
I think so.
I think a top flight Tempest, you're probably looking top $1,500.
Yeah, and Tempest is the worst cabinet in the world about having that particle board. I've seen a ton of them that are just about to fall apart. So be really careful with that.
Sounds good. So, Karen, thank you for your question, and good luck selling your Tempest if that's what you want to do. We can probably put you in touch with somebody in your area if you're interested in that, but otherwise, hopefully you can get it working or somebody can get it working for you. So.
Yes.
Okay, Tim, now we have one more question here, but I did see this in here. Edward says, hey, guys, love your vids. Thanks. Hey, thanks for being here, too.
Thank
and
you.
we're glad that you like the vids. So we'll try to put out more. I try to talk to Tim about putting out more all the time. Between...
We've got a list of ideas.
That's right. We have a list of ideas.
We just need some time.
The Volume 4 DVD, we just need about 5 more videos and we'll be there. But
we need to get that done.
The live shows take time, too, guys. And between doing the live shows and also doing recording stuff, it makes it tough just to do all that. So, at some point, we'll put out more videos. But thanks for saying that. We appreciate all that, Tim. People like our videos.
Good.
So there you go. Okay, let us move to the last prepared question here, Tim, that we got, and that is from Jeremy. And Jeremy says, hey guys, I was wondering if you could suggest some advice on my arcade monitor. When I turn it on, the picture comes up, but it looks out of focus. After about 5 minutes of being on, the picture becomes clear and looks good. Would you know what the cause of this is? Also, the game that it's in is a Thunderbird, and it will freeze after completing either after the player runs out of lives or when going to the next stage. A little tricky there, Tim. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Would this be a board problem or maybe a connection problem to the board? Thanks. Okay, Tim. So we have Jeremy here. He has a Thunderbird game. Okay, Thunderbird. Now, he's got 2 issues. One's a monitor, and it's out of focus when it first starts up, but as it warms up,
right,
it comes into focus. Second problem is that the game will freeze if he plays if he plays the first stage and passes it, goes to the next stage, it freezes, or if he runs out of lives. Okay, so those are the two problems that we have with the Thunderbird. What's going on with Jeremy's Thunderbird here that would cause these issues?
Well, his monitor problem is probably either just a simple cap kit, which would greatly help,
right,
or his flyback. And a lot of times it's the flyback when you're because that's where your focus comes in on.
Right.
But I would do both of those. I would probably just replace the flyback and do a cap kit, or do a cap kit first since it's cheaper.
Right.
Then try to do that next.
Right.
Now, touching up the solder and all that stuff and making sure your neck board is pushed in really good, and all those solder points and everything would be a good place to start just before your cap kit gets there. But I would definitely do a cap kit on it.
Right. Whenever we have focus issues, Tim, a lot of times either going to be the bad caps or the bad flyback. One or the other. So
most of the time it's the flyback.
Now, what about the board freezing issue, Tim? What do you think's going on there?
Well, it sounds like that as this game is requiring a little more processing power or something, that it's freezing up. I would really go back and check the power supply. Make sure that you've got high enough voltage, because just that little bit of up on the processor takes a little bit more voltage, and if you don't not pushing enough voltage, then it could help. Even if you're running right at 5, you might go up to 5.1 volts DC just to give you a little bit more power at the board. If that's the case, then you check all your connections and stuff like that, but it may be a board processor issue that you're going to have to get repaired or replace the board. But I would definitely look at the power supply first and make sure you're getting good power, strong power up there to it.
Absolutely. And Tim, that's what we cover here, and I'm going to go ahead and show the slide for everybody. So monitor focus issues are usually caused by either faulty capacitors or a bad flyback on the monitor chassis. We highly recommend installing a cap kit to see if it helps the issue. If it continues, try replacing the flyback as well. On the board freeze issue, in cases like this, you want to make sure that your board is getting the correct voltage. Check your power supply with a multimeter to make sure that this is the case. Next, check all of your connections to the board. If your voltage and connections are good, then you probably have an issue with the board of some sort. Now, Tim, like I said, restarting, rebooting issues with boards, almost always a power supply issue. It can happen where you're having like a glitch in like a memory chip or something like that, or in the CPU where it tries to kick over and it's not doing it. But a lot of times that glitch is there because it's not getting the voltage that it needs to kick over.
All right.
And so that's why you definitely want to check the power supply first, make sure that's working, and then if you still have problems, contact us and we'll help you out. We may be able to pinpoint something on the board that's causing the issue. So, Tim, is there anything else you want to say for Jeremy before we continue on here?
I think Jeremy's
Did you see this cabinet?
Got a fixable problem.
Thunderbird?
It's kind of a cool cabinet, isn't it?
I had not really heard of the game.
Right.
But it is kind of a cool looking cabinet, I guess. I mean, this is not the cabinet he sent us. But I don't know if it was a kit game or if this is a dedicated or what the deal was.
It'd be cool to have a dedicated version of that. That's a neat cabinet.
So, but I mean, apparently it's a game. So there you go. But anyway, Jeremy, thank you for your question, and good luck getting your Thunderbird back up and running. Well, Tim, I think we're done with the questions for right now, unless anybody has some in the live chat. Remember, guys, you can leave your questions, your comments in the live chat for us, and we'll read them as the show goes on. But Tim, it's that time for Tim's Tech Tip. So, what do you have for us this month, Tim?
Well, we were talking a couple weeks ago, and my assistant tech was going to plug in a game. I told him to check the ground prong. He said, it's been missing for a while, but the game still works. And I asked him if he thought there was why it had a ground prong, and he had no clue why. So I thought we would talk a little bit about a 2-prong versus a 3-prong AC plugs. Okay. And how important are they in the game? Because a lot of older games just have the 2-prong coming out. I've seen originals just had 2 prongs.
Hey, most of the plugs in my house are 2-prong.
Right, yeah. Right. So what's importance, or what do we recommend when it comes to that?
Okay, do you want me to read this, or are you just going to go over it with them?
I'll just go over it with them. Well, the left slot is the neutral. And that would be, most of the time, if you got, that would be your white wire.
Right.
And then the right side is the hot or the line, and that would be your black wire. Now, a lot of times you've seen that N and L on a power supply.
Yes.
That you
AC/N, AC/L.
You can make sure that the one prong that's fatter on the left is going to the neutral, and the smaller plug should go to the line. Now, a lot of them are the same size, so you can go by the color wires or just make sure one of them's going to line, one's going to neutral. What I want to talk about is the ground. Electricity, as you know, flows in a current, and in a house outlet, power flows from hot to neutral. The ground slot and the neutral slot are identical.
Say that again.
The ground slot and the neutral slot are identical.
Okay,
if you go back to the breaker, they go the same thing. So you're thinking, why do you need it?
Exactly.
Well, it's for protecting the people who, there's metal cases inside appliances. A lot of video games these days, like computers and things like that, can provide from electrical shock. The casing is connected directly to the ground prong. So, your game should be grounded, and that's one way that you should be able to touch that metal, that end of your prong, and touch metal up in your game, and it should hear a continuity beep.
Right.
So, want to make sure that your game is fully grounded. So, next time...
And a lot of times, Tim, if it's not fully grounded, we get issues like interference in the monitor, some things like that. It kind of manifests itself like that, right?
Always think of it this way. I always think of it in this retrospect like a vacuum cleaner. Let's say that I want to vacuum, but I don't have a ground plug.
Right.
No big deal. If you plug it in, it's still going to work, and you could still vacuum a floor. But what if you run across a puddle of water and you're not looking, and it sucks the water up in the vacuum and causes a short in your vacuum? Could actually electrocute you or something because you're not grounded.
Right.
Wouldn't electrocute you, but would cause a shock.
Right.
Or a pop or something like that. So that's a simple illustration.
Exactly. The grounds the casing so that if you can touch things and you don't get shocked.
Exactly.
If there is a malfunction.
Now, guys, I've seen this before. If you've ever come to a game and put a coin in, you felt a little tingle, you're like, hey, or a little bit of a shock. Might not be much voltage, probably a grounding issue, and that game's not grounded, and you're actually becoming the ground now through you.
Had that happen with a Mega Touch, Tim. You touch the screen and it'd give you a little shock.
Yeah, a little shock.
Because of the ground.
And so the ground is very important. Make sure that your grounds that you have a ground plug. Even if it's an older game, this is where one recommendation, I would recommend replacing since the older style, really old games don't have them, I would go ahead and put a 3-prong cord to it, and if you've got it in your game room or wherever you plug it in, that you do have all 3 plugs and they all are 3 working.
So I'm going to ask this next question. What happens if you cut off the ground prong or you use a cheater plug? Now, Tim, I have a lot of 2-pronged outlets still in my house. And a lot of times I'll use a cheater, which basically converts the 3-prong to a 2-prong. What happens if I do that?
Well, it'll still work. The problem is that you've disabled the important safety feature, so you're going to have to be careful with that.
So like you're talking about with the vacuum.
Yes, like I've talked about with the vacuum cleaner. The same thing, same idea. So I know it's a simple tech tip. I know a lot of people don't understand, though, what is line, neutral. Also, if you want to replace a plug to a game, it doesn't matter for the most part. Let's say I get the line and the neutral backwards. Will my game still work? Yeah, my game will probably still work, but if you have more than one power supply, for instance, we got a game at Chuck E. Cheese that has a couple power supplies in them.
Right.
If you don't have both lines and both neutrals hooked up right, it won't work right.
Gotcha.
So there are some instances, but it's best to hook stuff up like it was meant to be. If you're still not sure or have any questions, always feel free to ask or Google it, look it up, because it's a lot of information about that. But make sure that yours are hooked up correctly. And guys, you should do that occasionally when if you got your favorite game or whatever, you should preventive maintenance. You should look at it, look at the plug, and make sure that it's still good and that you're getting good continuity. I've also seen a lot of loose grounds that weren't connecting very good. They won't make good continuity. Make sure it's good and solid ground, and then make sure that your game rooms, places that you plug your games in, are grounded.
And Tim, we should mention too that we have videos on replacing a plug, replacing a cord in an arcade game, so you guys can watch those videos and learn how to do those. So I mean, if you are missing a ground, and maybe they just didn't pull the prong out, maybe there's no ground wire all the way back to the cabinet, you may need to replace the entire cord depending on the problem. So
for sure. So my tech tip of the month is to make sure that your game is a 3-prong cord and that it is grounded and plugged in, and that your game is fully grounded.
Sounds good. So thank you for that tech tip Tim. And if you guys have any other questions about any of Tim's tech tips, you guys can always leave them in the comments section below. Or if you're here with us live, do them in the live chat, and we'll be happy to answer those questions as we go on with the show. Now, Tim, we got a couple of questions while you're giving your tech tip. The first one's from YouTube Punk. Do you or Tim have a Raston marquee that you're willing to sell? We actually got rid of a lot of our marquees and stuff when we moved out of our storage building. Time. Yeah, when we moved out of our big storage building into a little storage building, and ever since then, all of our stuff belongs to Chris Monroe. So,
if I had one, you could have it, but I don't. And it's not that rare. If you are, I don't know if Chris has a website. If you ever go to any of the Texas Pinball Festival or Houston Arcade Show, you'll see his booth there, and he always has a ton. But we'll be on the lookout for you, and I don't think it's that rare to find.
There you go. Hey, remember what was that Texas Pinball Festival like 2 years ago? I found that Tick and Tag marquee for $5.
Outside.
That's right, outside. That's right, at the garage sale. So at Swap Meet.
Yes.
And they're having a swap meet in Houston at the Game Preserve pretty soon, I think, coming up.
Yes.
So if you're looking, these swap meets are a great place to find marquees and stuff like that.
You might email the Game Preserve. They may have some or access to somebody that has one.
There you go. So there's a couple like that. Edward says, was involved in switching regular lights to LED lights in the marquee. And Tim, we kind of talked about that earlier in the show, so you guys can watch that. Was that the very beginning with Jeff's question? So we had Jeff's question, but we actually have a video on installing an LED fixture in as a marquee light. We actually have a whole video on that and post on that if you want to see it. And I mean, the process is pretty easy, Tim. If you have AC running up there already, you basically just swap in an AC LED fixture and you can get it done, right?
Yes, it takes about 10 minutes.
So there you go. So, YouTube Punk says he's seen the Rastan marquees for $30, but he's cheap. So just wait until a swap meet. Go to a swap meet. You might find one. So, I think we got all the stuff in the live chat. So, Tim, it's time to cover some of the stories that have been going on. Now, Tim, this one's from about a year ago, but I thought it'd be another good story to cover here. And so we're going to cover this. Donkey Kong's failing liver, what the death of the CRT display technology means for classic arcade machines from Venturebeat, Tim. And Tim, the whole point of this is that the current stock of new CRT monitors is dwindling, and the winding procedure to make a CRT is difficult, which makes it unlikely that anyone will pick up the mantle just to serve the classic arcade enthusiast community. Okay, and so an LCD connected to a PC running a piece of software that approximates the original experience will be adequate for most people. So that's what this whole story is about, is basically how CRT displays are dead, and that means we won't have basically the authentic experience anymore once all the CRTs are gone. So guess what we're going to do, Tim?
All right.
It's that time. Okay, you ready? Arcade debate. Okay, so today's debate topic for the arcade debate segment: is it finally time to accept the practice of installing LCD screens in classic arcade cabinets? Now, Tim, of course, we want the live chat to chime in on this. If you guys think it is or it isn't time, me and Tim will be taking opposite sides of this. And so, Tim, I will let you choose. So, here we go. Let's do our little arcade debate. Now, you'll need to scoot over. Okay. Got to get you in your box.
I'm out of the box.
You're out of the box.
I'm always thinking back.
Let's go back a little bit.
I'm thinking outside the box.
No, that way. There we go. There we go.
Okay,
are we ready?
Now
we're here. We're in the boxes. Okay, great. So, guys, welcome to the arcade debate segment. And in this arcade debate segment, Tim, we're going to talk about, is it finally time to accept the practice of installing LCD screens in classic arcade cabinets? Tim, what do you think? Is it finally time to accept?
It's time.
It's time. I'm going to say it is not time. We should still have CRT. So, Tim, I'll let you present first. Why is it finally time to accept installing LCD screens in classic arcade cabinets?
Well, because every TV that you look at is in high def. When I go to all the new games at Chuck E. Cheese have LCD screens in them, that's what kids and what people are used to. If we're going to bring more people into the hobby, we can't have an antique-looking monitor tube in there. You can't find the parts for them. They're getting outrageously expensive. You can't buy them new. So it's just a thing of the time it's got to go. One time we used a round rock as a wheel, but we come up with better methods.
Well, the problem is, Tim, is that the guy who invented the rock, you see, that's how it was intended, and that's how it is with the CRTs. The creators of these games, Tim, intended these games to be preserved on CRT monitors. They were intended to be played on a CRT monitor. I mean, just look at scan lines and things like that, the way the screen refreshes. These programmers, Tim, took that into consideration when they made the game. When you use an LCD, Tim, you actually get better quality, which a lot of times makes the art look worse. Have you ever noticed that? And it's because the original creators of these games never took into account that we'd have screens where we wouldn't have scan lines that would refresh on the fly. And so, Tim, you're not getting an authentic experience whenever you're using an LCD monitor in a classic arcade game.
The game still plays the same. you're not going to be any better or any worse because of the way the screen looks, and it's actually going to look a lot better. The colors are going to be brighter, and it's not going to look like have a bunch of screen burn and stuff like that in it. So I think that it won't make any difference in gameplay. It will only look better to your friends and family who come over.
I think it will make a difference, Tim, because we're talking about faster refresh rates than what we had back in the day, okay? Back in the day, we had slower refresh rates on the screen. Standard resolution, 15 kilohertz, okay? 25 kilohertz, medium resolution. Those are different than what an LCD does, right? LCD is at least 31 kilohertz, maybe higher on the refresh. And so sometimes the reaction time may be changed because of how fast that the screen is refreshing. So the high scores that you maybe got once on Galaga when you're using a CRT, you may not get those on an LCD.
Well, I'll tell you this much. You've convinced me, Jonathan. I'll order 1,000.
Well,
so send me 1,000 monitors.
You can't get any more CRTs. But here's the thing, Tim. There's still, you can still get CRTs. You can go to the dump. There's still CRTs there. Okay, you can find tubes. There's still CRTs around. Okay, man, Tim, just the other day I saw a listing for 10 of them for free. Just go by my neighbor's house and just pick them off of his trash bin. They're just sitting there. So we can still find tubes and we can find chassis. Why not continue to use CRTs?
I think it's a antiquated thing of the past. And even though I was back when that monitor was the best, I don't use a TV that looks like that anymore.
Well, that's because they don't broadcast anything in that anymore.
Right. Well, I understand where you're coming from, but I just think because of the rarity of the parts, because they're getting harder to find, I think that it's time to move on. And we're going to have to use them. It looks fine in the cocktail cabinets that we make.
But, Tim, there's still a lot of CRTs out there. That's all I'm saying. I know that you can't produce them or people are having trouble producing them, but there's still CRTs available that you can buy. You go to the dump, you go to pawn shops, you can find 25, 19-inch CRT tubes, and then you can go ahead and put chassis on there, and you can get them working. Tim, we still have universal CRT chassis. So even if you can find a tube in the right size, you just put a universal chassis on it and get it working. But I think for the most part, Tim, as long as there's CRTs out there in some form or fashion, we should continue to use CRTs as they are.
Well, you got a couple more years to go then, because they are fading fast. But
there you go.
What's the chat room thing?
Okay, are we done?
I'm done.
Okay.
And we must say that we do not necessarily agree with everything that we say as long as we're debating.
That is correct. And Tim has a really good point.
Well, by all means, keep your CRT if you can.
But anyway, like you mentioned, Tim, what does the chat room think? Guys, we're going to go ahead and go to the chat, but we want to thank you for joining us for the arcade debate segment. Tim, I'm going to get you next time. I think you had some really great points tonight, but I'm glad we did this. So there you go. Are we done?
You might have got me that time.
I might have gotten you.
That was some good points.
Okay, so we're out.
All right.
Okay. Back to the main camera. Okay, so, Tim, that was heated.
What did the chat room think about?
Okay, let's see. Going here to YouTube Punk says no. And Michael Bloom says, is there such a thing as a standard resolution LCD? No, what they do is you put a converter, right? You put a video converter on it, and that's how you get it to display properly. So it actually has to up the resolution in order to get it to display on an LCD properly. There are LCDs that'll take the native 15, but I think even they up-res them.
Okay.
So let's see here.
It really doesn't look the same.
Right. I use a standard def monitor for my MAME cabinet. It looks so much better than the LCD. And Tim, on MAME cabinets, of course, it's a computer anyway. So, using a computer monitor is fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not a big deal. Let's see here. Edward says, I say no, keep the CRTs, call Japan. They most likely will have a warehouse full of them hidden. I wouldn't be surprised. Arcade games are still big in Japan, and a lot of them are using CRTs still.
Somebody's got a stash. We know they're out there somewhere.
Michael says, Mortal Kombat looks like, we'll just say, terrible on an LCD in comparison to a well-disguised standard res. So Mortal Kombat, just to give you an idea.
And I have played games, they actually look so good, it is distracting almost. You know what I mean? It's like you're used to those pixelated looking characters, and if they look too good, it almost doesn't look... It takes a little bit of the nostalgic feel out of it.
Absolutely. So let's see. YouTube Punk makes a difference with gun games. Can't play gun games without a CRT right now. There's really no good way.
Good point.
James says CRTs have no lag, better gameplay. And that's true. There's lag a lot of times in LCDs. LCD is no good. It has lag to them, George says. Goodwill has CRTs. You see? You can still find them. I'm just saying. Let's see. All Arkansas Goodwills no longer accept CRTs. And that's from James. And so, we're getting to a point where you're not going to be able to find them at Goodwills, but they'll still be around, Tim. And then Mr. Silverball Mania says, I've got some CRTs at a school auction, 26-inch, just get a new chassis. Exactly what I was saying. There's universal chassis now that you can use pretty much with any tube. And so if you can find a tube, just get a universal chassis for it. And let's see, YouTube Punk says nice, and there you go. So, Tim, that was all of the stuff from the debate segment. I should say this, that I'm actually a proponent of putting LCDs in classic arcade cabinets, mainly because, Tim, we're not going to have CRTs much longer.
Yeah, we actually took the reverse role,
exactly.
probably.
I think Tim is probably more pro CRT than I am, but I let you pick.
Yeah,
so you got to take the side.
I thought
that
it'd be fun to take the opposite.
There you go. It's always good to do that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the arcade debate segment. If you weren't here for the live version of it, tell us what you thought below in the comments and let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the LCD versus CRT argument. But Tim, I think eventually we will have to accept it because CRTs, I mean, there are a lot of them out there. Don't get me wrong, but there's going to come a time where we're gonna everything will be gone.
Well, hopefully by that time there's not going to be that many games either. So maybe there'll still be enough to keep the games that are survived.
Right. And I mean, we keep a lot of tubes a lot of times anyway when we pull them out of games. And so, I mean, keeping the tube, you can always find a chassis and put it back in. So the problem too, Tim, is like screen burn as well.
Yes.
So we have that. So let's see. It was a twist ending. There you go. We had a twist because we were opposite each other. Speaking of twist endings, Tim, we're going to talk about something here in a minute that's a really big twist ending on the after show, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Stay tuned for that.
That's right. If you haven't heard of the push, that's what we're going to talk about.
That is a very twist ending.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in the after show if you guys are interested. It's called The Push. It's on Netflix, and that'll be coming up very soon. But Tim, let's continue on with our arcade repair-related issues. And the next one we have here... Oh, let's read some of the comments from the post that we had on this, Tim.
Okay.
April says, I'm hoping someone will invent a suitable alternative like an LCD with scanline generator that under a glass facade. And Tim, I thought about that, like putting basically a piece of glass that kind of simulates the scan lines. I thought that'd be a really cool idea. Tom says, you can already buy curved 4K TV sets. My hope is that eventually we'll have a high enough resolution to be able to accurately mimic a standard picture tube. Nick says, we'll figure something out. I sold an original Tempest that was still aces after 35 years. Hey, apparently that Tempest is still working.
Right.
Travis says,
We got $3,500 for it.
You got $3,500 probably. Let's see. Travis says, I go to great lengths to bring dead tubes back to life. It can be done with the right equipment provided you know how to use it. Now, Tim, the problem is that's a dying art. We're not going to be able to do that forever. Not everybody has the equipment or the knowledge to use it.
And Travis, shoot a video on that.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Let's see it all. I would definitely like to see that. Keith says the tubes last a long time, 50 plus years if you take care of them. That is true. CRTs will last a long time if you take care of them. The vast majority, and somebody was asking earlier about like common problems. When you have a problem with the monitor, 95% of the time it'll be at the chassis.
Right.
Okay, 5% of the time it'll be the tube. So that's something to keep in mind. Tubes last a long time. Chad says, we've seen this coming for a decade and more. It was true of vectors years ago already. We talked about that earlier in the live show. Mm-hmm. Michael says, let me know when LCDs have the same input delay and color as CRTs. And that's true, Tim. Like we said, delay is a big issue with LCD. So I think we got it all in there. So we covered that pretty well. YouTube Punk says, it's just off-putting seeing that flat LCD in a classic arcade game.
Yeah.
And I agree. It does look weird because you're so used to having that CRT in there. It definitely looks a little different. But to be honest with you, I mean, like I said, we're not going to have CRTs around forever. We're going to have to.
But I love it in driving games. Like cruising and stuff. To me, it just looks so good.
Right. But those are also newer games.
Yes.
You know, and so we were talking about classic arcade cabinets in particular.
Right.
So there you go. Okay, Tim, now this was the next little discussion point we have here. And Tim, this is different than a lot of people gave us like what their Holy Grail game would be. Okay. But I think of this as a little bit different than what your Holy Grail game is. And the question is, if you could only own one arcade cabinet,
okay,
which one would it be? So there's a difference between like having a Grail, right? Like a Grail is like, this is the game that I really want, right?
You like the gameplay.
But let's say you have multiple games and you can only keep one. Would it be your Holy Grail? Or would it be something that has better replay value? You know what I'm saying? Like, so to me, it's a little bit different question. And the staff over at Destructoid, they posted an article where they discussed the one arcade game they would own if they could only have one. Okay. And so some of their responses included Chase HQ, Marvel vs. Capcom, Crazy Taxi, Street Fighter 3, Third Strike, Mortal Kombat 2, X-Men 6-player, Soul Calibur 2. Those were some of what Destructoid said. Some of the ones we got from our Facebook page and Twitter. We got multiples for Environmental Disc of Tron.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people like that because it really immerses you in the game. You kind of feel like you're a part of the game. Okay. And so for a lot of people, that's a Grail game, but it could also be the one arcade game you could have if you wanted. A lot of people said Neo Geo, Tim, and I think because, you have the 2-slot, 4-slot, so you could have multiple games in there, right? Ghost and Goblins got a couple of responses. Somebody said DDR Extreme, Dance Dance Revolution. Mortal Kombat, of course, Tim. Very popular game. A lot of people like Tron. Tron is a very immersive game. Has like 4 different quadrants you can visit. Simpsons, the 4-player. Tim, I had to put Simpson in there to keep the text from wrapping. Robotron and Splatterhouse. But Tim, my question to you and to the live chat: if you could only own one arcade game, just one, okay, which one would it be? And and like I said, it doesn't have to necessarily be your holy grail. Maybe it is your holy grail, but we're talking about just one arcade cabinet. So like right here, I've got 3 of them behind me. It's like if I had to pick just one of these, which one would I pick, kind of thing. So
yeah.
So Tim, just one game. That's the only one you could ever have.
Tron.
Yeah. And why Tron, Tim? What is it about
I just
Tron?
remember the movie. Going to the movies, it was that. I remember seeing one brand new, getting it out of the box, helping the arcade operator, and turning it on for the first time with the glowing joystick and all those things. And it really was just a game changer for me as far as just going to the arcade and playing. Spent a lot of time fixing them and getting mine working and stuff. So it just has a lot of, probably that or Miss Pac-Man, just because I really like to play them. Sure,
and you see, I think that's really what it comes down to. It has to be something you could play a lot, right? If it's your only game, it needs to be something that you really like to play. YouTube Punk said Tekken Tag. Okay, Michael said Sit Down Afterburner, like the sit-down version.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let me see. I'm going to have to think here for a second, Tim. Now, here's the deal. We had a lot of people say MAME cabinets. Not counting MAME cabinets.
Donkey Kong would be hard.
Donkey Kong would be a good one.
It's just,
It's a deep game, and a lot of people only play like the first 4 levels.
And with the rise of the championships and who's a world record holder and controversies and stuff, it really has become even popular retro game.
Right.
Everybody knows Donkey Kong. It's the first time you see Mario.
Exactly.
So I would say Donkey Kong would be in maybe number 2.
Yeah, so Tekken Tag, I have a Tekken Tag. I love Tekken Tag. It's one of my favorite games. It's probably in contention for that. But if I could only have one, Tim, Soul Calibur, I keep coming back to that.
I was going to say, I could guess for you. Right, it would be Soul Calibur or Galaga.
Yeah, Soul Calibur is one of my favorite games of all time, just because I remember when I was in high school, we'd go up to the arcade and play it. Yeah. So, it was one of those when it first came out, I remember playing it, and it really just changed what I thought about fighting games at that point, because most of the fighting games you saw in the arcade, Tim, were like hand-to-hand, where Soul Calibur had weapons.
Yes.
And so, it's kind of the first game I remember where you fought, you had weapons, and the combat was real tight, and everything played really well.
Double Dragon, you got to beat people with whips.
Well, we're talking about versus fighting games, too.
Really wasn't much competition,
and I'm a big fan of, NBA Jam, NBA Hang Time, NBA Showtime, like that series, and so maybe one of those NFL as well.
Blitz.
NFL Blitz would be a great game, because it's something that you could, when your buddies come over, Tim, if you only have one arcade game, if you have an NFL Blitz, you're going to have a good time. You know what I'm saying?
That is true. I do like 4-player games because of that.
Right, exactly.
Even Golden Tee.
Right. We got a couple others here. YouTube Punk says Donkey Kong's a good one. I just wish more people would bring back the regular old arcades, because I'm sick of the, virtual reality, I guess, stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. Jeremy says Ultimate Mortal Kombat. That's a good one. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 is a great game. Man, I remember playing a lot of that, too.
I guess it kind of depends on the era or what game you grew up in. I can remember seeing Asteroids for the first time before Pac-Man came out, and I just thought, wow, what is that? I didn't know what an arcade game was, I was like, how cool is that? And that's a really cool cabinet to have, too.
Sounds good. Well, Tim, we'll go ahead and leave it open if anybody else in the live chat wants to chime in. But if you could only own one arcade game, which one would it be? So we had some great responses there. Now, Tim, let's talk about the Texas Pinball Festival. Now, neither one of us was there.
We didn't get to go.
Okay, kind of shifting gears. But our friends Eric and Rusty were there. And so let's talk about that real quick. Tim, here's some of the new games that were shown. Houdini by American Pinball. The Kingpin remake by Circus Maximus. I believe that was one of the games that was in production when Capcom closed their pinball division. And so they're bringing it back. Pirates of the Caribbean, of course. Jersey Jack Pinball. Alice Cooper's Nightmare Castle, Tim, by Spooky. And Attack from Mars remake by Chicago Gaming Company. Now, Tim, if you want to find out more about all of these, you should check out Question and Answer podcast special episode 23 with Eric and Rusty. And Tim, we have the link down there. But Tim, they actually interview Charlie from Spooky.
Yes.
They interview Brian Collin. They interview one of the ladies who's involved with the 3D tabletop Pong. which was
yes.
also there, and a lot of
Yes.
people are very interested in that. So, I mean, there's a lot of different great interviews on that podcast, so we hope that you guys check it out. Now, one game, Tim, that was just announced this week that was not at Texas Pinball Festival was Iron Maiden.
Right.
Okay, and so Iron Maiden, pinball machine revealed, first images and details from Stern. Tim, this is the IGN article about Iron Maiden. And Tim, I'm not a big Iron Maiden fan, but I like the artwork package, actually.
Yes.
I think it looks nice. It's done by the same guy who did Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Okay, just to give you an idea. But I thought the artwork looks really cool, and I definitely...
Dirty Donnie would have done it. The
Yeah,
way
exactly.
It looks like his drawings.
Right, but it looks really nice, and I really think it, even not being an Iron Maiden fan, it looks fun.
Yeah.
And I do want to mention a response from one of our commenters on Facebook. He said it's a new layout, metal ramps, 2 spinners, drop targets, 4 flippers, killer art, all on a pro model. I like what I've seen. And, I think that, Tim, it just shows you that CERN, because of competition, I think, is having to pack more and more into these pro models in order to get them to compete with the other pinball companies that are out
cool.
there, price-wise.
It does look fun. Like, I can't wait to play it. We'll have to check it out in Houston. I'm sure it'll be there.
There you go. Now, Tim, while we're on pinball, Michael says, if it's pinball, I'd love to have an Addams Family. I just don't have the $5,000 for a beaten copy. There you
Yeah,
go.
really?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty expensive. I wish they'd reissue Addams Family like they did with Medieval Madness. Probably a licensing issue. Edward on the arcade says Matt Mania would be his one, an old wrestling game. To be honest with you, if we're going wrestling games, though, big WrestleFest fan. Yeah, WrestleFest would be the one probably that I would go with.
So.
Yeah, if we're doing wrestling games. So, okay, Tim, what else do we have here? Oh, Tim, you might have noticed that we don't have any channels, YouTube channels submitted or anything. Guys, this is just a reminder. You might notice the last 2 live shows that we played videos from different YouTube channels that we hope that you guys enjoyed and subscribed to on YouTube. It's because we want to promote arcade-related YouTube channels. And Tim, this is just a reminder.
I would say this. Maybe you watch another channel. Somebody you could contact them and say, hey, can I recommend that we use this, or these guys could help you promote. Maybe it's not necessarily your channel, but it's not a popular channel of somebody that you know or you met at an auction or something. We would take that too, as long as they're in agreement with it.
And so here we go. Reminder, we want your arcade-related videos. So if you want some free advertising for you or a buddy's YouTube channel, we're looking for people to submit short videos, 10 minutes or less, about arcade-related topics. So if you subscribe to a different channel that's arcade-related and you'd like us to promote them, like Tim mentioned, contact the channel owner and then have them contact us, and we'd be happy to feature them here on the live show. But send us a link to your video at questions@arcaderepairtips.com, and our staff will review it. If we like it, we'll use it during one of our live show episodes. Make sure to put a plug-in for your channel so people will know where to find you. We look forward to seeing your submissions. And Tim, like I said, if you guys have a channel that you really like to visit that's arcade-related, contact the owner of that channel and then have them contact us.
Right.
And then we will promote their channel here on YouTube. Because Tim, what we want to do is we want to promote arcade-related channels here on YouTube. That's what we want to do. We want all you guys to get more subscribers. And we know a lot of people who watch us may have their own YouTube channels or have other YouTube channels that they follow. So we want to promote
watch videos myself of people doing repairs and stuff.
Absolutely.
I learned stuff.
Right, and so we definitely want to do that. So yeah, if you know somebody who runs another channel, have them contact us. We'd be happy to feature their video here on the live show. And let's see, YouTube Punk says Arcade Jason apparently is the guy. So contact him, have him contact us. We'd be happy to feature his videos here on the live show. Well, Tim, I think that about does it for this part of the live show. We're about to move into the after show, but before we do, let's give you the contact information, Tim. And the first thing we have is our general email address, and that's at questions@arcaderepairtips.com, questions@arcaderepairtips.com. If you want it on the live show, put live show in the subject, and we will mention it on the show. If you'd rather us just reply back whenever we get a chance, then we'll do that as well. But if you specifically want it on the live show, put live show in the subject, and we will mention it on the show. Our YouTube page, of course, Tim, if you're here, you're probably watching it, but that's at youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. Of course, comments from the last live show will be covered on the next live show. So, I mean, that's kind of how it always works, Tim. Any comments you leave there. So, if you're watching this and it's not live, leave us comments and we'll cover them on the next live show episode. Tim, we talked a bit about the podcast, and that's the question and answer podcast with Eric and Rusty, and you guys can email them at podcast@arcaderepairtips.com.
And let me just say, talk about learning some information. I learned stuff while listening to our own podcast from them guys. They really have a lot of experience, and they go into details, a lot of stuff that I'm not even aware of, and I learn something every time I listen to it myself.
Eric and Rusty are 2 great guys who volunteer their time in order to do the podcast, Tim. So we want to thank them for all of the time and hard work that they put into it.
And it's easy to understand. They dumb it down, really, for us guys that need it. And so thank you guys, and they do a great job. If you guys aren't listening to our podcast, you need to make sure that you tune into those and listen. There's a bunch of them. You can go back and listen to them for days.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, that's definitely right. So, yeah, podcast at arcaderepairtips.com to email them. And you can subscribe at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com or stitcher.arcaderepairtips.com, Tim. Both those, you can subscribe to their thing. And we have the RSS feed on our website at arcaderepairtips.com as well if you'd rather do that. But itunes.arcaderepairtips.com, stitcher.arcaderepairtips.com to subscribe to the Question and Answer podcast with Eric and Rusty. And, of course, Tim, we have our social media pages at facebook.arcaderepairtips.com and at twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. Tim, Louie, and Mark do a fantastic job of keeping us up to date on the latest news on that.
Oh, yeah.
Tim, even you and me post from time to time, just depending on what the content is. But Mark and Louie are the ones who post a lot of stuff. Mark has really been on top of all the pinball stuff. He went to Pinball Festival as well. And so a lot of the pinball posts that you've seen recently have all been from Mark. So we want to thank Mark and Louie for their contributions to the Facebook and Twitter feeds, Tim.
And we'll post links when we find tools on sale, things like that, articles like we've discussed here tonight. It's a good resource also to connect with other members.
Exactly. So there you go. Well, Tim, I think that about does it for all the contact information. So we're about ready to wrap it up. Now, we did get a question from Edward, and I do want to kind of address this. He says, one more thing, the volume on your regular videos is low. I've watched a lot of them, and they are low. Now, here's the thing, Tim. We used to shoot the videos with, like, handy cams and flip camcorders, okay? And so the microphone is literally as far as Tim is away from it.
Right.
Now, as we've gotten newer videos, we've gotten better and better equipment, that now we actually have a shotgun mic that we use that actually sounds a lot better. And so we've gotten better at the volume, but the problem is that some of the videos we have, Tim, are like 8 years old.
Yes.
Okay, and so we started doing this even before we had a high-def camcorder, and so the camcorders that we had the mic on the camcorder, which means we had a pretty good distance to where Tim was. Now, we either mic Tim, or we use a shotgun mic whenever we film videos. So our filmmaking process has evolved over the years. Is that a good way to say it?
Putting together a cocktail cabinet, the kit, that was one of the latest videos that we have shot.
Yes.
If you watch that, tell me if you think the volume is better on that, because I'm actually mic'd.
Exactly. So, we wore a mic the entire time. So, yeah, we've actually gotten better as we've been able to purchase equipment. Thanks to people donating money. Thanks to everybody buying DVDs at our online store. Thanks for all of the ads and things that we have on our website, Tim. And on YouTube, we are able to buy better equipment. Okay, and so we want to thank y'all for allowing us to buy that. Because when we started this, Tim, we were using our own money. We were buying our own equipment, and we could only afford cheap stuff.
Correct.
So is that a good way to say it?
Pretty much sums it up.
There you go. YouTube Punk says, I appreciate you guys posting the deals on tools and equipment. And we do that from time to time. If we find a really good deal on a tool, Tim, or different equipment, we will post that on the Facebook page or on the Twitter feed so you guys can get it. Tim, we try to reserve that for only things we know are good deals.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not like
just recommending everything.
Just throwing everything out. If we just see it's on regular price or anything, we're trying to really find the best deals for you guys. So if we see a good multimeter deal, good stripper deal, good soldering iron deal, whatever the case may be, we want to hook you guys up and get you the best stuff. So okay, and Edward says, I'll watch it next thing. So yeah, if you're watching our more recent videos, a lot of times the audio is going to be a lot better just because we mic up Tim.
Yeah.
And Tim, we actually we bought some really nice equipment that we have here, but we hadn't had time to use it. So the next couple of videos, if we ever do the next couple, will be very good. So now, Tim, it's worth noting, and there's no announcement here, but next month will be the May episode.
Okay.
May 2018. Is that significant for any reason?
May 2018. Another Star Wars coming out. I don't know what's
May 2018 would be the 10-year anniversary of Arcade Repair Tips. So, in May of 2008, we wrote the first post and we started the Arcade Repair Tips website. Tim, at that point, it was still an offshoot of our arcade website, and so we are going to be celebrating 10 years in May.
Well, happy birthday to us!
I'm telling you, it's a long time. Now we've only been doing videos for 9 of the 10 years. Right. Okay, so we started doing videos a year into actually having the site. We did blog posts, and there are some blog posts without videos on our website if you guys go check it out. And but starting in 2009 is when we actually started filming videos. But next month will technically be the 10-year anniversary of Arcade Repair Tips.
We're going to have some trivia.
I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know. You know, we had December when we gave away the thing. We actually asked them like when we started and everything. So, so it's 10 years is a long time. I feel like we've been, when we started this, I had no kids.
That's
Now I
true.
got two.
That's
so,
true.
I mean, it's a lot different. But anyway, so I don't know if we'll do anything special.
I didn't have any teenagers.
That's right. That's right. There you go. So things have changed a lot. But we want to thank you guys for definitely supporting us all 10 years, and it's been a great ride. But Tim, anything else before we move into the live show? What's coming up in the live show? Investment update with Tim. Last month, YouTube Punk gave us $10. What happened to that $10? Tim will tell you. We're also going to be talking about the Toys R Us liquidation sale. What's been going on with that? Baseball season, Tim. First day of baseball season is today. We'll talk a little bit about that. Ready Player One, of course, comes out today. We'll talk about whether or not we're going to see it. Tim, we're going to talk about The Push, which we said earlier. And then we'll also be talking about TV shows and movies that we'll be watching. If you guys are interested in any of that, stay tuned after the break, and we'll get to that in the after show. Tim, anything else, though, for the regular show? Any other arcade repair-related things that you want to get in before we leave?
No, just thank everybody for watching, whether you're watching live or later on. Sorry about we like to do things real consistent. Know you guys plan for that. Normally it's the first Thursday of the month. And we had to make, I will be in California next week, so if any of you guys are in the San Jose area, want to connect with me, send us an email. And that's it. Thank you, guys.
There you go. So, guys, we want to thank everybody for watching today, and we hope that you guys enjoyed the Arcade Repair Tips live show. Tim, and remember, here at Arcade Repair Tips, when we fix the game, we play the game. Okay, we'll be right back with the after show, guys. Enjoy the short break.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. All of our past episodes are available on our website at arcaderepairtips.com or on our YouTube page. This show is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before attempting to repair any coin-operated machines yourself. The preceding program is a Varcade Entertainment production.
And we are back with the Arcade Repair Tips after show, Tim.
Okay.
So you didn't go to the bathroom. I did this time.
Yes.
So, I mean, we're good to go, I think, here. But, Tim, okay, we teased some stuff at the end of the regular show, so let's go ahead and talk about those things. Tim, last time, YouTube Punk gave us $10 for your birthday. I transferred that to you via PayPal. You invested that money, and now, how much money do we have?
$10. I sold at $10.58.
So you made 58 cents.
I made 58 cents, which, if you think percentage-wise,
would be 5% or 5.8%.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So, didn't make a killing, but I noticed a trend. If you haven't watched the stock market over the last couple of weeks, I do know what stock I should have bought.
There you go.
But it did go. I bought CRON.
Okay, so what is CRON?
CRON is a medicinal marijuana
dispensary.
Stock. I thought because it was one of the only marijuana stocks that sold on Robinhood that it would fly, and it did fly for a little bit, but it is down to about $7 now.
Okay.
So I had to duck out.
Okay.
Had to get
Well,
out.
it sounded like you got out at the right time.
I did get out. I did make profit.
There
so
you go.
Profit is good.
Well, we'll have to find out. We'll have to find out where our $10 is next month.
Yeah. Well, I you know where I'm going with this $10.
Where's it going?
TVIX.
Oh, okay. So going into some hard currency, huh?
Yeah. Well, what we found is that there are certain stocks that go up when the market goes down. They're inverse stocks. You might hear people talk about hedge funds. Mm-hmm. This is what you build a hedge fund with these type of stocks. So on bad market days, which we've had plenty lately, they will go up, and it, sure enough, it works every time. They go.
And speaking of stock market, I believe that Dave & Buster's is going to announce earnings very soon.
Nice.
So I don't know when, but I know it's coming up because I am obviously a stockholder in Dave & Buster's, and so it's going to be. We're going to find out how they're doing.
So I'm still kind of new at it, still getting my feet wet. I think I'm up for the month. I may be up a couple percent.
There you go.
And most realistically, guys, you're not going to get rich overnight. If you can get about 5% a month and build that compound every month, you can build some, retirement or something that way. But it is a lot more work than I thought. A lot of diligence, a lot of reading, a lot of watching videos. Probably like working on games than you never have before. So I am a student, and I do like and enjoy it. There's good days and bad days. I've had some very good days. I've had some very bad days.
Oh, you say, so YouTube Punk asks 2 questions. One, can we try an episode with the games turned on? Maybe at some point. Yeah. The problem I worry about is that the brightness from the games will blow out the screen a little bit, like to blow out the camera. Like we'll get a little blooming. I'm trying to avoid the blooming, and so that's why I have them off like when we're filming. But we could try it at some point. Turn them on. Let's see. And he also says, I thought Tim would invest in CEC coin. Chuck E. Cheese coin.
Chuck E. Cheese, the Bitcoin of it that's going for a lot of money right now. If you've seen the video, the post, you'll know why that's funny. But no, Chuck E. Cheese is privately owned now. We were a public stock. When Chuck E. Cheese got bought out last time, I cashed out and made some good money. It was about $35, $36 a share at the time. So what's Dave & Buster's going for now?
45.
45? Okay. It was high as 60?
Yes, it's high as 65.
So, no, I really, if I'd had more time, I should think about something arcade related or one of our vendors or something.
Yeah, I don't know how many
I'll have to
are
research that.
Coastal, Raw Thrills. I don't know if any of them are public companies.
Yeah, a lot of them that I looked into are private companies. And then my son likes to play Fortnite. And you guys out there playing Fortnite.
There's people out there playing Fortnite right now while they're watching us.
They're very addicted game. I did want to invest into that, and the only way you can invest is to go through the Chinese market.
Right.
And the exchange right now for one share of, I think it's
the company
Ting Ling or something that owns the rights to Fortnite is about $350 a share.
Whoa, that's pretty high. So if you want to invest in Fortnite.
Or you can get,
you're definitely buying in on the high
shares of Facebook now.
I was about to say you're definitely buying on the high end though. If you do that.
So I would like, if anybody knows of a arcade related or gaming related. So I've told my son
that's public.
Yeah, it's public that I could invest in. Maybe I'll give that a shot and we'll see how it does.
There you go.
Play with it a little bit.
Okay, let's continue on here. Tim, Toys R Us liquidation. Have you been over there yet?
I have not.
So the signs are up here. I don't know if the signs are up where you are. Let us know if they are. But signs are up here. Everything says up to 30%. And that's misleading, Tim, because the vast majority of the store is 10%.
Okay.
Okay, so if you go in, all of the mini arcade cabinets that we like so much. And Tim, you may have noticed I put a review for one up.
Yes.
And, the one, Tim was supposed to bring his. We were going to do a review of his. But a lot of the mini arcade cabinets that they're selling are 10% off. Which means they usually are MSRP around 30, I think.
So the real deals haven't started.
Right, we haven't seen the real deals. Game consoles like Switch, PS4, those are 5%.
Okay.
The only things in the store I could find that was 30% is gift wrap.
Okay.
So gift wrapping, paper, bows, bags, and stuff like that.
But, kind of an end of an era that we talked about. And then, right after that, the guy who founded it died.
Yep.
I mean, not related, but I'm just, he didn't have a heart attack or nothing. But it was like, just kind of sad. As you grow up, everybody... wanted to be a Toys R Us kid.
That's right.
Go to Toys R Us. And
I love the jingle still stuck in my head. You said that, and now it's just singing.
Video game. Bought a lot of video games at Toys R Us.
Absolutely. So. Oh, YouTube Punk says avoid Atari stock.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, the new Atari stock is not doing too bad. It's actually, and they've got some new stuff. The Atari does really good in the UK. You have to buy it through UK market.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, you can only buy Atari. ATAR is the stock ticker.
Yeah, that makes sense because it used to be Infograms, which was a...
It is only in the UK, and from what I've seen of it, it's pretty strong. It's actually profitable, good.
Well, they did announce the Atari coin, the Bitcoin, their cryptocurrency.
I want it and they're coming out with a new console.
That's right, the VCS.
And so I wanted to cash in on that. It's just a little bit harder for me to trade. So any of our European friends that want to help me out with a stock of new Atari, that would be awesome.
Well, I don't know. It could be going up. Who knows? But,
it naturally will go up when the console is released. Now, whether the console sells or not,
that's a different thing.
It may be a different thing.
Sure. So, Toys R Us, guys, if you're waiting for big discounts, anyway, getting back, Tim.
Definitely not buying stock in Toys R Us.
Yeah, that's right. If you're waiting for big discounts, they're not there yet. Wait a little bit longer. Tim, I literally live like less than a mile from one. I could ride my bike over there. A lot of people know that. And I'm going to miss it a lot because I used to go there a lot. And so my daughter is really disappointed as well. We've kind of discussed it a little bit.
Yeah, it's weird. So. There's just not... Well, I guess you
go
to Walmart.
Now, you heard KB's coming back, though.
No, I did not hear
KB
that.
is coming back.
Okay.
So the company...
Maybe they'll buy them.
Well, there's an LLC that bought the KB name.
Okay.
And they had planned to open up stores starting in 2019. But because of Toys R Us, they're accelerating the plan.
Oh.
And so we may see new KB toys. And I'm following them on Facebook right now. They're a privately held LLC company, Tim. And but they're trying to bring back KB. So I'd love to see KB make a comeback. I love KB. So, I mean, I went to KB more than I went to Toys R Us because we were always at the mall, right? Like, KB was literally around the corner from the arcade. Like, you could get to both of them. I don't know if you remember that. But, so your mom dropped you off to the arcade. You could walk around the corner, go to KB after you're out of money.
There you go.
KB is where Soul Calibur?
Yes.
Soul Calibur for Dreamcast I bought at KB Toys because they had a copy.
Okay.
So, just to give you an idea. So, let's see. Looking at the Atari box vaporware. There you go, Tim. He thinks it's gonna be vaporware. Read the Vulture article.
Okay.
There you go. Read the Vulture article. So that's what YouTube Punk says. Okay, Tim. March Madness. Let's move on here.
Oh yeah.
You keep up with it all?
We had some
We're
stuff
at the Final
going
Four
on.
now.
And,
usually I do a bracket and everything. I didn't do it this year.
I didn't either. It's just so busy this time of year, and I'm disappointed because the games I did see were amazing.
Yeah.
And a lot of... It's like the play field is evened out more. Mm-hmm. It's not like college football where you got 4 or 5 elite teams beating everybody and nobody could beat them. It was like upset city everywhere you went. From the very first round, number 1 pick getting beat by a 16th seed. Mm-hmm. How did they do after that? That's where I kind of lost.
I lost it too. Number 1, a 16-1 had never happened before until this. Yeah.
So guys in the chat room, if y'all know what happened to them after that, because I know they didn't make the Final Four, but Loyola did.
Right.
Who's upset everybody they played.
Right.
And then I got to rooting for Texas Tech because they were like the only Texas team
left.
And
now they're out, right?
And they did good. They got to the Elite 8.
Right.
And they got beat by Villanova. And if I had to pick, I'm going to pick Villanova to win it all.
I was about to say, yeah, it sounds good.
Kansas looks really good, but I like Villanova.
I'm with you. So, just a little bit I've seen, they look like the team to beat.
Yeah. So what you guys in the chat room, who's going to win it all? You like basketball.
Right, exactly. So March Madness. Now, YouTube Punk says KB and Aladdin's Castle was where he hung out. Yeah, that was it. And, we had a Software Etc., which is now a GameStop. Wow. But at the time, it was a Software Etc. Software Etc., KB, and the arcade were all on the same side of the mall.
Wow.
They were all on the same side of the mall.
That was cool.
You didn't even have to go.
That.
You didn't even have to go. You go
and then there was a record store right down from there. So
FYE,
it was,
Yeah,
FYE.
It's not there anymore. But, you just had all of it right there. And so that was really nice. Hopefully we see more KBs. Maybe not in malls, but maybe we'll see them somewhere else.
Maybe so.
Okay, Tim, it's baseball season.
Oh, yeah.
And I watched a little bit of the game today. Big Texas Ranger fans, a lot of people know, and we lost to those Houston Astros.
Well, their Astros are pretty good.
No, they did win that World Series thing last
year. They're okay.
They're okay. But big baseball fan, love baseball season. So glad baseball season is back, Tim.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, there's something that's comforting about it. Now, Tim, we mentioned this before. We even did, when we had the podcast, we actually talked about it. But we went to Game 6 of the ALCS between the Yankees and the Texas Rangers, where they got to go to the World Series in 2010.
The first time they ever went to a game.
Right.
I I'll tell the
to
story.
a World Series, right?
You remember the other day I asked you
asked
for
me
the
for the
video
link.
of that.
Right, exactly.
The
We have a video of it.
reason why we have a foreign exchange student staying with us. He's never been to a baseball game. He's going to his first baseball game. I pulled up that link and I said, "This is what it's going to be like."
No.
It was so loud and noisy. It was crazy. The stadium was rocking. He's like, "Wow!" Like, no, most games aren't like that. It's a little more calm. But
just tell him it's like soccer.
yeah, it's like
Or football.
yeah, football.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
And
where he's
so
from.
we're looking forward to going to our first game with him. And I don't even know. He's never seen he's never even watched one on TV.
You know, and baseball is complicated.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he needs to be watching it on TV.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, and I don't know if all the baseball different organizations do this, Tim, but the Rangers have a thing that they do, and I don't know if they do it all the time. It's called Baseball 101. It happens an hour before the game, and it's classroom. It's free, where they teach you all the rules of baseball.
Wow.
Okay, so and it only I don't think they do it for every home game, but they do it for like every other home game.
That's
so
pretty
you
cool.
have to see. But you get there an hour before the game, and the actual front office people from the Rangers teach you how baseball is played.
That is crazy.
So, because they want to get you interested in the game, right?
Sure.
If you're interested in the game, then they're making money, right? So it makes sense for them. But it's called Baseball 101. It's a class that you can go to. It'll teach you all about baseball. Those of us who grew up in the United States,
Right.
Tim, we know baseball.
Right, but opening day is fun because everybody's good.
Oh yeah, that's right. Everybody
Everybody's
starts
awesome.
nothing,
Yeah.
right?
We were tied for first place.
That's right, exactly. Now the Astros are in first.
Now we're the
place.
worst team in the division.
Exactly, that's how it goes. So,
But-
yeah, I was wondering why you were asking me for the link. So there you go.
That's why.
But there's nothing more exciting than your team being in playoff baseball. And so for those people who have teams that'll be doing that this year, congratulations. We won't be there, I don't think, Tim. But for those who will be, congratulations. So it's good stuff. Okay, Tim, Ready Player One. Tonight is opening night for Ready Player One. Now, have you seen the previews? Spielberg, a lot of references to pop culture stuff. Do you know what it's about?
Yes, I've seen
Trailers
and stuff. And I've seen where Walter Day and Billy Mitchell were talking about it.
They did like a
little
premiere. They were there at a premiere.
Yeah, and so I guess there's going to be some retro stuff type in it, and
Right.
everything. So I probably will go. It's like one of those things I'm going to have a hard time talking my wife into going to see.
Right.
But I'll be alone in California next week.
There you go.
And I'll be with a good boss friend. I think we may have to go see it.
It looks really fun. Of course, Tim, if you don't know what it's about, it's basically about this kid, and there's like this virtual reality. It's called the Oasis, and in it, you can do kind of anything. And so there's all these pop culture references within the Oasis where, you can kind of come up with different things. And there's a big prize that everybody's looking for, and that's kind of the breakdown of the entire plot summary. I don't want to spoil too me, but I mean, the reviews have been okay. They range from like, okay, this is like a cash in on pop culture to Steven Spielberg really knows pop culture and it works really well. I've kind of read a lot of different things. So everything in between. I've heard that's really good. I've heard that it's okay.
Right.
So it's probably somewhere in the middle. It's probably okay. And
So you're going to go see it?
probably in the movie theater, with with two little ones.
It's hard
to have time for that. But I will see it at some point, probably when it comes out on, like digital or something like that. I'll buy it. So
Okay.
But there you go. U2 Punk ask, have you guys been to the National Video Game Museum in Frisco? No.
We have not, but we have a lot of friends that have, and they're always posting pictures, and every time
awesome.
I'm just like, gosh, I've got to go. I'm going to a Rangers game next month, and I'm hoping I can talk everybody into swinging by there, because I think it's definitely worth a stop.
Well, here's the thing, too. The Texas Rangers AA Club plays there, Dr. Pepper Field, Frisco Rough Riders. So you could go take a Frisco Rough Riders game in and then go to the National Video Game
We're
Museum.
talking about going to Dave & Buster's in Frisco, so
That's
that's
a good
not
one,
too
too.
far either.
That's right. Exactly. Frisco's a great place. A lot of the new development in the Dallas-Fort Worth area is happening in Frisco. It's further north, Tim. But there's a lot of cool stuff up there. It has a 2-story Dave & Buster's with the midway on the bottom floor. It's very nice. Had my bachelor party there, of course. Love that one. So great place. But no, we have not been there, but we are hoping to go to the National Video Game Museum very soon. So.
Yep.
Okay, Tim, we teased this during the show, but and we haven't talked about this.
Okay.
But so last Sunday I watched something on Netflix, and Tim, it wasn't.
How did you hear about it? Because
I've
never heard of it until you told me.
Well, I was holding. My wife was at church with our daughter, and I was just holding Alex, our newborn boy, and he was asleep.
Night, huh?
He was asleep, and so I was just looking through Netflix, and I saw like new and trending. I saw this,
Okay.
and so I'm like, I'll give it a shot. And
Okay.
so I watched it, and I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so Darren Brown, The Push is the name of the show, and it is crazy, right?
Yes.
Yes, it is crazy. So Darren Brown, The Push. Let's talk about it, Tim. So, do you want to give people a summary? Do you want me to give them a summary of what it is?
Yeah, I can
the
say
whole
that
premise.
You don't want a spoiler.
Yeah, I don't want
to. It's hard to talk about it without spoiling some of it.
Let's not spoil anything.
Okay.
Let's just say the whole premise is whether or not you could be socially pressured into killing somebody.
Right.
That's the whole premise. So via suggestion, via just peer pressure. I mean, all of these different pressures, Tim, that we get.
Right. It's as simple as I'm getting up, I'm going to the bathroom and say, hold this for a second.
Exactly. And
I could do that to a stranger.
Right. I may not hold it. I may hold it.
Right. But 99% of the people would hold that.
Right.
Will you hold this for me? Or get that door real quick or something,
Right.
There's stuff that, and what would you do once you've kind of broken, once a guy kind of had lied, then how far would you go before you'd back out of that, or would you keep going? It really makes you think about, because what gets me, John, is we get a lot of, and we're all guilty, I think,
Yes.
of kind of jumping on a bandwagon, maybe a political view or a religious view or something. We kind of get in with the crowd sometimes, or we feel pressured to, without really thinking about stuff, we just make decisions.
Right.
And, of course, real consequential. And this show really does a good job of making you think, and it's amazing some of the stuff they did. The dummy, I mean, gosh, they really go out of the way to make this.
Okay, so
real.
they devised this elaborate scenario, basically a perfect scenario of how they may be able to put enough pressure on somebody to make them literally push somebody over a cliff.
Right.
Okay, so they engineered this elaborate scheme as to try to get these people who, Tim, they purposely find people who are more apt to being suggested.
Right.
So it's more they are more apt to
screen
agree
them.
to a suggestion. Okay, so they screen all these people, and the people who are the most suggestive are the ones that they get for this experiment, and they run them through this elaborate experiment, and at the end, it's basically whether or not they will push somebody off a roof and kill them.
Right.
I mean, now they don't realize that this is all an elaborate setup.
No, they don't realize it's a TV show.
Exactly.
And in the choice that you're given,
There's a lot of pressure.
There's a lot of pressure. So
Right.
it's before you judge, say, I would never do that. You need to watch this. Watch the show.
So, but Tim, what did you think of the ending? Don't spoil the ending. What did you think? And if anybody's seen Darren Brown, The Push on Netflix, that's what we're talking about. If you guys have seen that, let us know. We're in the after show for those who are watching. This is not if you came for arcade stuff, that was earlier.
Right.
So we're talking about Darren Brown, The Push, okay, which is on Netflix. It's a TV show. Okay, so what did you think of the ending?
Okay, the ending didn't surprise me with the guy. I thought, he just seemed, he was really starting to get a little, no, I don't know about this, you know.
But
the other were shocking.
Yeah, okay,
I was just shocked. Right. I was just like, oh my God. Exactly. I was like, my mouth dropped. I'm like,
well, because you think we would all like we'd all like the guy, and then you see the others, and you're like, wait a second.
Yeah. Right.
It starts putting it in perspective.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my goodness.
Then they're just, the emotion and the crying and stuff. And so, anyway, I'm not going to spoil it. You guys you do need to watch it. It's about an hour.
Yes, it's about an hour.
Yeah.
It's only an hour.
In fact, it says the push will happen 57 minutes from now or something, and starts counting down throughout the show.
It's only an hour, and it's on Netflix. It's called Darren Brown, The Push. And it's just interesting. And Tim, it's not about really who pushes the person.
No.
To me, it's not really about that. It's about how social pressure affects us.
Yes.
How we can be affected by people.
Well, like I said, it made me think about some
other
people protesting that don't really know what they're protesting about.
Right.
Or times when I've made a statement or said something, then kind of you want to save a little face. You don't want to admit when you're wrong or say I messed up, or even a case of mistaken identity. You don't want to just, well, yeah, that's not me, or very good show, very good, very thought-provoking show.
Exactly.
And we like those brain teasers like that.
That's right. So Darren Brown, The Push, watch it on Netflix. Let us know what you... Now, Tim, it came out in the UK, I think, 2 years ago.
Okay, it's a social media experiment. I noticed there were a lot of UK actors in it that I recognize from other shows. So.
That's right. So there's a lot of guys in it, but it's fascinating. Now, talking about TV and movies real quick, Tim. I saw Star Wars The Last Jedi.
You finally got to see it.
I did.
What'd you think?
It's okay.
You okay?
I mean,
glad you didn't pay a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, well, I had a choice between watching that or The Greatest Showman. I'm kind of glad I went to The Greatest Showman. I mean, no, I liked it better, but Star Wars, I mean, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't great. I guess I had really high expectations. Like my expectation level was here, and like it felt like.
I think a lot of people said that about that. I thought it was excellent.
Oh, it's good. I mean, it's good, but
I think to me, it's like, what more could you do though? It's like I don't know if I could write any better or do any more.
I felt like. And I don't want to spoil too much. I mean, it's been out and it's out on digital now. You can watch it. Yeah, I was about to say.
Not with this group.
I felt like they didn't handle Luke properly. I mean, I understand like the training he gave Rey was fine, but I wanted more Luke, right? It's like and I know you can't make the movie like forever long, and we may see him in episode 3. I don't know in the episode 3, whatever 9, right? We may see him in episode 9, but I kind of felt like I wanted to see something. I guess, more with Luke. I felt like the character was just kind of like old and grumpy.
Yeah.
And I wanted more from Luke, I guess. I mean, and the end gives you a little bit, but I just wasn't, I don't know. I didn't like the way they handled him. And like the way that they handled, what's his name? Adam Driver's character. And you say, I can't remember. You see that so much. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, tell me about the scene, though, the future of the show. When you tell me, did you not like the part with the little kid, the little boy? One? The little boy in the horse stables, like in the place.
No, that was great.
See,
like okay, that
wasn't that
good.
A cool scene?
Right, that was a great scene.
Yeah, so
that like wasn't that. It was the way that they handled the characters.
Yeah,
it wasn't. No.
But I'm just saying, didn't you like how it kind of segued into future Star Wars? That was a cool scene where the kid gets to fix up the
right. No, I mean that was fine.
Yeah,
it was like no. Who's that? Why can't man? I am just. Lack of sleep. I'm sorry, but no.
You got a baby.
Exactly. That's right. I still can't think. Kylo. Thank you. Kylo Ren. I don't like the way that they handled him at all. Because I mean, I felt like if he was going to do what he did, why did he kill Han? Like all of a sudden that didn't make sense to me because he could have killed him before he killed Han, and that would have made more sense. You know what I'm saying? But maybe it's just because his character is super confused. I mean, but it's
conflicted.
But because the problem with that, I don't really understand him. And then. He killed, or I don't want to spoil it too much, but he killed the guy, and I'm like, that character wasn't even fleshed out at all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't care about him at all.
Right.
I mean, and so like there's just stuff like that. Like I felt like the character, like I don't know, I just felt like the way that they handled character development wasn't good.
Okay.
That's all. Now the space battle scenes and stuff. I liked all that.
Oh,
that was really well done. But like just the Jedi type parts and stuff with Kylo, I just didn't like, and his master and stuff. I just didn't like the way they handled that.
Okay.
And that, I mean, it was fine, but I think we could have handled it a little bit better. I would have liked to see his master at least grab a lightsaber at some point, which we didn't really get to see. Like I want to see them battle. And like if you're the dark side, why not fight unfair? That's my point. Right. Like have both of them against you. Like Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader. Why didn't they just both fight? Luke. I mean, you're the dark side. You can do anything. So
you don't really follow the rules.
Exactly. You're not following the rules. And that's all my point.
So what else you been watching?
I've been watching the Joel McHale show on Netflix. I'm a big Joel McHale fan. Tim from Community. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He does a show that's just like The Soup. They used to do on E! It's very funny. It's kind of crude, but it's very funny. I recommend it. AP Bio is another show I've been watching. It's on NBC. It's got one of the guys from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia in it. But basically, it's about a guy who's a Harvard professor who ends up having to teach AP Bio in high school to these kids. And really, he doesn't teach them anything. He just talks about himself, and it's all about him.
Okay.
So, which is really funny. So he gets the kids to like catfish like his enemies and stuff like that. I mean, it's really funny. And then Deception, which is a show about a magician. It's a scripted show about a magician who helps the FBI solve cases. Okay. So now you had Cold Justice on the list.
Well, the only reason is because I've been watching so many videos on stocks and trading and how I've even been approved for option trading. You want to talk about crazy? That is wild. It's like combines eBay and stuff or something. I don't know. I don't understand it at all. I'm pushed that off to the side.
Right.
Not there yet. But Cold Justice is a. You never seen Cold Justice?
I have not.
Okay, it's a reality TV show where a former prosecutor, two ladies, they go around the country looking for cold case files.
Right.
And most of the time, prosecutors don't want to do them because of circumstantial evidence.
Right.
But they take and draw. It's a real show where they go in and they help families. These murders that happen like 16, 17, 18 years in the 80s and stuff. And they find the suspects, and then they prove through new DNA testing. Now, back in the day, it was like, oh, we test your blood or whatever. They can test all kinds of things. Well, it was a male, and it was probably a person of this descent and origin. They can almost, they got a guy the other day. His was 1 in 4 quadrillion chance that it was him.
Oh my goodness.
So, it's like, and they busted, so they go and you really start to root because these are real people, and just, I don't know, I just have a real heart after people that, can you imagine your son or daughter or somebody get murdered and then it not being solved? Mm-hmm. And so that's what they do. They take cold justice, they take cold cases, and they bring in the best people in the United States and work with that.
So it's true. It's
a true story. And so let's say that it's a town like White House. Say you don't have the department that doesn't even know where to send the DNA and stuff, or maybe it's the only murder that happened there in the last 10 years, and they go into those towns and help the police solve these really hard or really difficult cases where they're just, and they also exonerate people that some of them are people everybody thought it was Joe killed his grandma and he's always had to live with that, and they come out and tell everybody, no, we have proved through DNA, we don't know still who the killer is, but we can tell you it wasn't him. Mm-hmm. And so that they really try to help those people too who have been falsely accused and maybe get some out of prison or whatever.
Now, did you hear about the White Sox groundskeeper?
No.
So 23 years ago, this guy was convicted, I think, of murder. I think it was murder. And they just let him out this year. He was a White Sox groundskeeper in Illinois, for the team. Okay, they found the evidence, they exonerated him, they let him out after 23 years. The White Sox gave him his job back. He is a White Sox groundskeeper once again.
Oh my gosh.
So 23 years.
If you like this, it's a real show, has real things. If you ever just watch one episode sometime and tell me what you think, it's so interesting because they really care about the people, and somehow the way they think is just so good, and they're good at it. They're the best.
Cold Justice, is it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix. There's Cold Justice. The one I like is about the murders. They also have one on sex crimes and stuff, but some of these cold cases that have been 20, 30 years old, at least 10 years old, stuff like that, they go in and help people solve them.
Awesome. Now let's go ahead and get to the chat here. Let's see what we got here. Arcade Collectors Worldwide. Hope all is well with John and Tim. It is.
Hey.
Thank you, Josh. What's up?
Hey, Josh.
So how are things up north? Hopefully warm. They're definitely warm down here in Texas, as always. We love it down here. Hope you need to come back. Come back to Texas.
I think
it's just not the same
sometime.
since you went away.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let's see. YouTube Punk says we'll give it a watch. The Push. Okay.
The Push is definitely.
Push sounds like something from Black Mirror. It is, but it's real.
Right.
These people don't know that they're being.
It does sound like a Black Mirror show, but it is, like you said, it is a reality show.
Exactly. It's a reality show.
Put yourself in their shoes and see how you would react. Yeah. It's good.
YouTube Punk says I need to watch Star Wars. We didn't spoil too much, so hopefully that's good. Watch season 1 of The Orville on Hulu. Enjoyed it. I saw the first 5 episodes of The Orville, and I actually liked it. But for some reason, it's like I didn't pick it back up. It's like I don't know. I think what happened is they had a little bit of a break. And then I just didn't watch the rest of it.
It's kind of like me in The Arrow. I was so into it, and then it was such a long time before the next season was released, I kind of forgot about it.
Right.
I'll probably start watching it again sometime. I'll have to go back and watch them all now.
Exactly.
But that's kind of fun to do, too.
Let's see. Paul says hi. Hey, Paul. Thanks for joining us in the after show. If you want the arcade stuff, it was back about an hour and a half.
Yeah. We'll replay it.
That's right. Let's see. And YouTube Punk. Edward says The Last Jedi was a waste of time. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that. I don't think it was a waste of time, but it's not the story I would have written. And that's what it comes down to. It's not the story that I envisioned. It's not the character progression that I envisioned. I felt like the space battle stuff with Princess Leia was very well handled. I loved the fact that they were in so much trouble. Yeah. But I felt like the stuff with Kylo and
the
Luke
fact that they were able to finish the movie with Carrie in it, I think was kind of cool.
Absolutely. But like I said, I think the stuff with what's Kylo's little master, like the stuff with his character and Kylo and Luke, I just felt like we're not fleshed out as much as I would have wanted. And I don't know if, I don't know. It's like their character arc just didn't make sense. A lot of holes.
Yeah, right. But see, and that kind of, though, I think that's how they write some of it to set it up for prequels, know. Where did this guy come from? But then,
You see, give me the real stuff. Just give
exactly.
it to me now.
I'm kind of tired of the
churn.
The churn. Yeah, just go ahead and let's just have a good
Look,
movie.
Marvel does it very well, okay? But Marvel just, I mean, they've got a whole plan and they've got comic books and everything's already written. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a little bit different.
I think he gave you the name. Is it
Snoke? Oh, Snoke.
Yeah, Snoke.
That's it, Snoke. Yeah, they didn't handle Snoke very well. They didn't handle, to me, Kylo very well. Rey was okay. Like, her character arc, I thought flowed okay. I mean, it was really well. But I didn't like how Luke, like his character arc, I just didn't like it. And here's the deal. I called it before it happened. Like, as soon as the very beginning, the last shot we see in episode 7 is Rey giving the lightsaber. I'm like, I know exactly what he's going to do with that. And sure enough, he did it. Right. So it's like, I knew it was coming. And to me, so if I can predict it, I don't feel like it's, you know what I'm saying?
I see what you mean.
It's like they're really, and at the same time, I thought they're really not going to do this with him, are they?
Right.
And they did it.
Yeah.
It's just that. So it's not that it was a waste of time. It's not that I didn't like it. I'm still going to buy the Blu-ray. Okay. It's like, I'm still, okay, I bought it on digital, it's okay. But it's just that I'm, it wasn't quite what I was expecting. Expectations up here is about there. So. More backstory. That's exactly right.
I'll tease with something.
Thank you, Edward.
I bought something for the first time and it was going to blow you away.
Let me think.
Cost $10.
$10. $10. That's the magic number.
Yeah, it is. It's what I should have spent the $10 on instead of buying stock.
Is it one of those? What do you call it?
It's something you wear.
It's something you wear. You can tie.
No,
$10. That's what I was thinking. Shoes.
No.
I don't know. I was thinking it was a vapor pen.
They're going to follow along with this. It's going to be fun. You're going to be surprised.
Okay.
Glasses.
Glasses? Oh, no. You got glasses, huh?
I had to buy some reading glasses.
I've been wearing glasses since
I know you have, but I've never had to wear glasses. But
man.
I didn't realize how bad I needed them.
Yeah, you see,
they're just reading glasses, but then when I put them on, I was like, oh my gosh. I need to go down and get my eyes checked. I did not. I can read the live show pretty good.
There you go.
I can read anything that's bright and lit up. Remember, I've always said, turn on the light. I've realized if I had those glasses on, I don't need so much light. It's more of a
right. Exactly.
I got a pair of glasses. Can you believe that?
Hey,
that's crazy.
Part of getting old.
Yeah, but I'm.
Like I said, hey, I'm younger than you.
I lasted a long time.
So
anyway.
I was about to say, I've been wearing them my whole life. Don't feel bad. I wore contacts since I was in high school. I mean, I had glasses.
I just don't know if I can wear. I probably would
the
want
hardest,
to wear contacts.
That was one of the hardest things was teaching myself to do contacts.
I can't stand sticking nothing in my eye.
It takes a while. So
okay.
Let's see here. Paul Dre, the deaths of CRT. Start collecting TVs. Let's see. I've swapped hundreds in the past 10 years. We talked about that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you need to shoot a video on that.
That's right. On swapping it, we could do that. Edward says T-shirt. Oh, a T-shirt.
No, he was guessing.
Okay. Cheaters.
Cheaters.
Oh, Edward needs glasses too. See,
I do.
We are the glasses.
I just never. I've always had really good vision.
I had a friend that had a whole
wow,
a whole thesis as to the reason why more people need glasses is because of the amount of time we spend on the computer.
Maybe
because how tiny everything is. And
well, see, I noticed that. What happened was, I read Amazon books,
right?
And that's what I do. I'll blow it up. I'll go. I'll stretch it, roll up the screen if I can't see it. Now my wife bought me a regular book for my birthday, and I'm like holding it up and got to get the light just right or using a flashlight. And I put those cheaters on. I was like, oh my gosh, I can read at a normal. I don't have to stick it up here or down here.
Makes a difference.
Now I can't see anything else if I got those. I can't see over there.
Right.
So I know that there's I can. I don't know if I'll go to glasses all the time, but
do you wear your sunglasses at night?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I haven't done that since 1985.
I see some glasses emojis over here.
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
I think we're done.
Yeah, we're getting
I'm
silly.
Tired.
I'm tired too.
So you
guys stick around in the chat room. I don't know.
They all stuck around. Well, not everybody. Most everybody.
Well, they're probably eating or something. But
That's
right. They let their screen
They're eating.
on.
We're not eating.
Yeah,
so,
I need to eat.
Yeah, I know.
No, well, I don't need to. I want to eat.
I see you're wearing your T-shirt that I gave you from last
my
episode.
birthday
I will say
shirt
That's
on.
really nice. So,
and happy early birthday to you.
Thank you.
I'm
so
sorry,
you'll
I'll be out of town.
You'll be out of town.
I'll have to catch you when I get back.
You see, Edward says I do the same thing. So you see, with the holding the thing up.
Yeah.
Everybody does that. You see.
Well, let me tell you, when I put the cheaters on, and they're really low cheaters, I just got them at Walmart. It was like, wow, oh my gosh, it has really helped me read again. I'm just like things are.
So here's the deal.
Better.
So when I got glasses, I got tested in school, and they're like, you need glasses. And so they're asking my parents all these questions. Does he do bad in school? And they're like, no, he gets A's. Mm-hmm. And then, well, does he have a problem seeing the board? And apparently not. He gets all and so, but then
you just learned to live with it.
Exactly. I just had learned to live with it, and then I came out of my first appointment, put the glasses on. I'm like, this is how people are supposed to see. I didn't even realize.
Wow,
you know, it's like I didn't realize how bad my vision is. I can't see if I hold my hand out like this. I can't see my fingers. You know, it just is a big blur. So I mean, that's how bad mine is. But anyway, past everybody's bedtime. I think he's right.
Yeah.
Okay, we're out. Thank you guys for showing up early for the live show. Again, no live show next Thursday. It was tonight. So next Thursday, if you come back, we're not going to be here again, right?
Yeah, give us some comments and let us know how you like the format. We need some more videos. So.
That's right, more YouTube videos. If you've got a favorite channel, contact them, have them contact us. We'll do that. And if you guys want to make a video and send it to us, we're always open for that too. Yep. So even if you have like no subscribers, well, I was gonna say one, but even no. If you have something arcade related, that's what we're looking for. So okay, well we're out, guys. Thanks again for watching the after show. Everybody should go watch Darren Brown's The Push. Maybe we'll get more into that next time.
Watch it and tell us what you think.
That's right. Watch it and tell us what you think. And thanks for joining us tonight for the live show. Good night, everybody, and we hope to see you in May for the 10-year anniversary live show. Yes. Is that what we're going to call it?
The big one.
It's definitely 15. It's episode 15, but maybe the 10th anniversary
show.
Maybe we'll give something away. You want to give something away?
Maybe. We need to have some trivia at least.
Okay, you got like old shoes you can give away? Somebody might want your old shoes.
We probably got something arcade related we can come up with.
There you go. Well, guys, thanks again for joining us tonight, and have a great night, and we hope to see you in May. Take care.
So long. Oh, man, my butt is getting sore.